The fact, Jack! That's a fact, Jack!
Let's get dangerous.
And we're here, and I won't do the other thing because we're supposed to be in the club. So we don't care. We don't care about Shorty. We don't care about it's a birthday. And we're not even going to party like it's a birthday. We're just going to review our comics and stuff today. So, hello everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
So how is everyone today?
Tired.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not just me. I was hoping to feed off of other people's energy today.
Tired's good. Yeah, tired.
Autumn has not started enough. I am so sick of the dog days of summer.
Here it's been like 57 in the morning. Very nice. And have a sweater on if you're going outside for a bit. And then 90 degrees before the day's done. So
Yeah,
you get 50
same here.
degrees in the morning? Jeez, we get like 70 if we're lucky. You know, if we're not, it's like you wake up and it's, you wake up at 8, 9 and it's already 75 degrees. And then by noon it's 80 something.
Yep.
Are you enjoying the weather, Joe?
The only time I enjoy the weather is when I get off of work and I do something like water the grass or something like that.
You're supposed to water it in the morning, though, because that way it catches the dew and it stays longer. At night, by the end of the evening, it sometimes evaporates faster.
Well, that's the thing is you do it in the morning, you also do it in the evening too, as the sun's going down.
Yeah, because otherwise I always crack up when I'm walking down the street and, buildings have those, they have the things where it goes like this and this with the sprayers, and it's like 12 noon. It's like
you're just going to be watering it all afternoon because the water is not going. It's not going to do that. It's like going out to hand water about 5, 6, 7 o'clock. You'll be fine.
Yeah,
sprinklers are not good. Yep.
That's when the dads in my hood would do it back in the day. In the evening after work, when it had cooled down and it started to set, they would do it. Doing it at 12 noon is only good when you have a bunch of hot kids around, because most of that water gets wasted because it doesn't go, depending on where you set those things, it doesn't even go on your lawn. It goes on the sidewalk.
Look how green my pavement is. Yay!
I have the cleanest, greenest pavement around.
I don't know if you guys have seen this much this year or not, but the first time that I have ever remember seeing a bunch of these, the skinks that are usually in the southern climes, those little gecko-looking lizards. Have you guys seen those this summer?
No.
No,
Okay.
we don't get them over here. I used to see lizards like that in LA.
Right. And I saw them like when we went to Florida earlier this year, I saw them down there. But this year, it's been hot enough in the summer that I've seen them on the concrete going, oh yeah, soak in that heat. And Then today, I had a little tree frog that took a ride on the car with me going to the store. And he just hung right in there. But all those kind of, he's
Until you turned the wiper blade on and he went.
no.
He was
I
probably
looked
on
out
the
for
top,
him.
on the top of the car. It was like,
He was tucked. No, he was on the back bumper, and then he got in there in the crack where the trunk lid would go up. He got in there, but the little rounded pods on his little toes and everything, and he's really small, but that and the skinks, not something I normally see out and about just in the middle of the day like that.
I used to see lizards all the time in Florida. Anytime I went down there on a trip or something,
Mm-hmm.
I got off the plane when I was waiting for someone to come pick me up, and there was one on my shoulder. I was like, "Oh, hey, fella."
Did he try to sell you car insurance or
No, he did not.
Okay, that's good.
He didn't say like "Yo quiero Taco Bell."
No.
I miss that Chihuahua. I miss him and the ultimate party animals, Buzz McKenzie.
I hate to say it, I kind of miss the What's Up guys.
The What's Up Frogs?
The What's Up guys.
Even
they
or
would
even
yeah, they would call each other "What's up?" They'd all be on some conference call going "What's up?" And then the Budweiser frogs.
Budweiser. Budweiser.
Yeah, you're really old if you can remember that stuff clearly.
Well, you're really old if you can remember the old school Bud Bowls.
Well, you're really
football.
You're really old if you
football
can
during the Super Bowl. Yeah,
you're really old if you can remember the Johnny Quest
fleet stakes for it too.
The Johnny Quest cartoon turned 60 yesterday, so
oh wow!
Seeing that first run, you're me.
I was 3 when if they just turned 60, I was 3 and a half when they first aired. So, and I think I first discovered Johnny Quest when I was 6, because that was also the time when Marvel got Spider-Man and the Marvel superheroes underway, and the Beatles had their own.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a cartoon I haven't seen in a long time. I even forgot that they had a short-lived. Well, I shouldn't say short-lived. It was longer than 2 seasons, I believe.
I think it was a couple of seasons. They had some interesting episodes. One where Ringo was spent most of the episode out of his body, which was really interesting. It's like, okay. And when you're a kid, you're just thinking, ooh, that's interesting. And then when you get older, you think about it's like, okay, what were these writers on?
Again, you have to think about the time period that they did it in, because it's like it was kind of free reign.
Well, kind of like what is it, Hoppity Hooper and Rocky and Bullwinkle, because there's a lot of stuff in those shows that were not meant for kids. If you think about the fractured fairy tales and some of the storylines and the comments and stuff, it's like, okay.
I still think about the crack that they made about NBC in Rocky and Bullwinkle. Me going to scalpel. No, you will not. The censors here, it says that there's no way in the world that you could actually perform a scalping, so we have to find something equivalent. I remember Rocky saying that verbatim, and then all of a sudden he breaks out this one book for the FCC guidelines. I was like, no, they did not just talk about NBC and the censors like that.
Well, Jay Ward and those guys had a lot of fun because it was like, okay, how do we do this in a way where it looks like, we're talking to kids, but we're really not talking to kids. The Monkees was like that. I forget which episode, but I forgot. I think it's Mickey and Davey come in, and Mike and Pete are sitting at a table, and there's dominoes, and they're like, "Hey guys, what you doing?" And Mike goes, "Playing Vietnam," and he knocks over one domino, and then they all go over.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know? So it's like, yeah,
And the joke went over most people's heads because they don't understand what they meant by playing Vietnam.
yeah, what are you doing? Playing Vietnam. You know, and at the time I just thought Vietnam, they play dominoes in Vietnam. Okay. Or it's a type of dominoes. It wasn't until I was in my 20s and I watched it again and was like, oh.
Again, one of those things that you wouldn't get until you watch reruns.
How to get past the censors without talking about how you're getting past the censor.
So
Yep.
we were talking before the show about Batman Day coming up on Saturday. And there was the announcement this week that the character is getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I saw the thing that you posted with the different Batman on it.
Oh, we were talking about that before the show too. I had to take that down.
Why?
No lizards or geckos.
The only one I didn't like was the, big old fat Batman. All the other Batman I was, okay with, but
I put it up and friends began to vie for position over who should have been first in the lineup. It wasn't they weren't in the right order based on what the Batman that they liked. And then we got into, and it's also inaccurate because the height is not represented correctly. This Batman was much taller than that Batman because Michael Keaton is like 5'7", and he'd be much smaller, and Affleck should be 6'6", and I just finally went delete.
Oh.
You could have left it, just turn off the comments.
Nah.
Again, be positive, and for some reason, one person may have to make it negative. Therefore, everybody has to lose out.
There's actually more than one person, but it was one person kind of got the ball rolling, and everybody else was like, "Oh, well, let me have an opinion." Here, I'll say. It's like I'm not going to ends up starting an argument.
Was like, I can see this. Clyde was like reading this. It's like, hold on, let me get a spoon full of sugar. Crankiness comes in. It's like, oh, y'all going to be like that. Delete. No one has.
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed it. I would have waded in, with the sledgehammer and put a few well-meaning verses in there.
It was BKM that started it all, wasn't it?
No. It's a lot of times these sorts of things. It gets under the saddle of somebody that normally you don't see negative things from, and then the people that have been waiting, that have handfuls of poop to throw, go, oh, here, look, it's a new venue that's opened up. Whee!
And I've got this fresh handful of poop.
I know. So that's what I mean. Is you just get rid of it, and then they're like, well, I was getting ready to throw. Where'd it go? Oh.
The only thing I thought of was I was trying to remember because the whole point of that was the whole Paul is dead thing. So, which is why Paul is, when he's in a lineup, he's barefoot. Okay. And in the white suit, because back in the day in Britain, that's how they buried you. Mm-hmm. So, because that's the one time in your life you don't need shoes other than being born. So, and then everybody was like, Paul is dead and that's a fake Paul. And it's like, maybe it was just a joke. Maybe they were just doing a fooly thing. But I was trying to figure out which of them should have been, that was the only thing I was trying to figure out. Okay, which should be the corpse? Because it was, Paul was the corpse. I can't remember. Paul was the corpse. One was the vicar. One was the undertaker, and one was the mourner. So each of them is, if you look at the lineup, it's kind of like a specific. They're supposed to have a specific position. At least that's how my aunt explained it to me.
Okay.
Back in the day, because I just thought, oh, look, Paul's walking across the street barefoot. It must be really clean in England. Because where I lived, it was a pretty clean area where I lived, but you didn't want to go walking around the streets barefoot.
and then it also extended into, we were talking about Batman the character getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Okay, so somebody had posted, look, this is the first time a superhero has been honored this way. And of
No.
course, everybody chimed in with, no, it's the first time a vigilante has been honored this way because he ain't a superhero. And then you get the
Oh,
whole,
come on.
what? What? He's more superhero than anybody else. He does it without any powers. It's
But the
like,
whole point of the term superhero is that he has some sort of power. Though, if you want to get technical, you could claim Batman's ability to his Holmesian deductions are kind of a superpower. You know,
His money is a
I'm
superpower.
stretching. Okay.
I'm going to stretch it even better. His money is his superpower because you have to think about it in this aspect. He has the resources to actually study everything the way that he needs to study it, to be aware of what to do and how to do it, for he can make those, as you call it, the Sherlock Holmes deductions that he can make. So without having the money, he would not be able to afford half of the stuff that he uses or be able to deduce a lot of the stuff that he does in the time frame that he does it in.
It would be interesting to see what a low rent Batman would come up with. I think a low rent Batman, the same level of intelligence, might figure out ways to do things.
That would be Punisher.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking Punisher. I was thinking Peter Parker.
But Peter Parker's got superpowers.
Yes.
Well, yeah, technically, but still, his web shooters is mechanical. He didn't have money to actually make him a suit that was worth anything.
He
I mean,
cobbled
yeah,
stuff together. He cobbled
right.
stuff together. He did the best he could with what he got, and as things progressed, especially once he and Reed Richards connected, it got a little easier for him in regards to tech, I think.
Yep.
but if you want to look at a lesser known version that doesn't have power, or didn't, I don't know if they still doesn't now, but the Prowler.
Yeah.
The Phantom. I
Mhm.
just somebody did it. I
Phantom
don't know
has
if you
tech.
did
Phantom
you do
has
the
some tech.
post?
Phantom
Oh,
actually has tech behind him too.
Yes, but when the first Phantom started out,
He didn't have anything.
he didn't have
Didn't have
anything.
anything.
He had only his guts and his skills and what he could hone of himself. And it wasn't until as generations went on that they gained money, that they gained money and allies and ability to get the tech. And even still, there is about the Phantom a sort of code, because
Mm-hmm.
he traditionally only carries specific weapons on him. So, you're not going to see like the Phantom with a laser gun or anything of that matter. It's just not him.
No, he carries tattoo rings.
Yeah, with the tattoo rings have very specific meaning.
They
If
do. Yeah.
If you get marked
like
by
the- just like the
one,
suit.
you're under his protection. If you get marked by the other, which means he rings your
Oh,
bell
shit.
with that skull ring, it means, oh yeah, you cursed. Because supposedly the rings are made from things that have religious significance.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he hits you, it's like, one, it's like, okay, ain't nobody gonna mess with you, because as they see that, they know I'm coming. And the other one is like, everybody in the universe is gunning for your butt. I wish you well. So it's two very different things. I grew up reading The Phantom and kind of had a crush on it, because it was one of those, he was this very intelligent person who didn't rely on a bunch of gadgets. It was about what this man could do and the people who, supported him. I loved the wolf. I was a fan of the wolf. I thought the wolf was cool. And the fact that the pygmies called him the ghost who walks.
Yeah. I mean, that was the cool thing, and then understanding the suit over the generations.
Yeah,
the suit got to the point, especially with, what was the cartoon series, Phantom 2049?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the suit got to the point where it could not. It's like as long as he was in the suit, he could not be photographed by any means. It's like video cameras, anything. It would not pick him up.
Yeah.
And if it did pick up something, it would. It was like, what is this blur in the middle of this here? And they would enhance it to the degree where it would just be just garbled.
Either Punisher 2099 took a note from that book, or vice versa, because he had like it was like the skull would pixelate over his face every time he was
Oh,
on
okay.
any kind of a camera, if I remember right, from the 2099 heroes.
And it's like the whole body would not be able to be photographed as long as he was in the suit. His whole body could not be photographed, and even if they did get a good shot of his head, they couldn't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, according
But
to
that ring thing is the key thing. If you get hit with that skull, that's the interview. That's the interview because any friend of the Phantom is going to kill you. They're going to kill you. That's just like you said. It's a death march.
you know, and enemies of the Phantom won't work with you because it's like, oh no, baby, you've been tagged. you know, you've been tagged. That means you show up in my
part
life.
of the Phantom's catch and release program. I don't think so.
Yeah, they might kill you just because you figured out how to find them. It's like, and we know he can find you. Bye. You know. Going off tangent, did anybody besides me watch Agatha all along last night?
No, I didn't have a chance. I didn't realize it started.
It started last night. They did 2 episodes. Agatha was never my favorite character in WandaVision, and I will admit I did not watch WandaVision to the end. I got really exhausted with it about less than halfway through. So I was curious to see what the series was about. And I'm not that fond. Like I said, I was not that fond of her because it's like and I found out it's like, okay, this whole thing is Agatha's doing this and using her. And it's like, and then the series is like, it's like they're lining her up for a Loki move. You know, she's going to go through, as she goes down this witch's road, you know, she may change or something. But it's like, Loki, you could at least see in the movies where they were making changes to the character and he was growing.
Okay.
But I just kind of, and the kid, I kind of get this kid because I've noticed they were giving you like hints, spoiler, they were giving you hints to things to come, especially about the kid. The whole thing about the other woman mentions the sacrificial youth, you know, and when she's still Agnes, and it's like Mare, it's that Mare thing that what's her name did. It seemed like they were playing with at the beginning. But when she's Agnes of Westwood and she goes in, there's the bedroom with the kid, and it's like, okay, and then you see the kid, it's like, oh, there's something going on here. And then I question it. You're powerful enough to break the Scarlet Witch's spell, but you know, the way it just didn't. There are things that I'm sitting there going, okay, there's too much that doesn't quite sit right, but I don't care enough about the lead character to see where the road goes.
I'm wondering if you saw the end of WandaVision, you would understand.
I talked to people who had watched it all the way through, and they were like, yeah, it was Agatha and she was playing her, and it's like, okay, and she took Agatha's powers, so she couldn't do things anymore. But then in this, when you see that second episode, she's not totally powerless because she's the one that leads the coven in that singing. Yeah, spoilers, y'all. Close your ears, you don't hear. Just go blah 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 blah.
Well, see, that's where I kind of get like what everybody is saying versus they kind of covered that in WandaVision here. Because yeah, she did play Wanda. She did play Wanda and everything because she was like watching it because of the simple fact that Wanda was on the path to be the legendary Scarlet Witch. the whole thing that Agatha was really doing was protecting the Darkhold. Because if Wanda got a hold to the Darkhold and really started using it, Marvel Universe was not safe. We would have
Well,
had a, if I could say, House of M type scenario. It wouldn't just be relegated to WandaVision. The whole world would have been
yeah, but then
House of M type
even if
type
you
level.
go there, there's still the point of when she goes to talk to these women who end up becoming her coven. Um, they all know her as somebody who would stab you in the back
That
if
has
you
already been
weren't
established in
careful.
WandaVision.
And at one point, she tries to use it, and now all these other witches want to kill her
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't have the power anymore. And when she's leading them in the song to try to open the witch's road, and it doesn't open right away, she's trying to get them mad so they'll all zap her in the hopes that she can grab that power and use it. And it's like, okay, so you're still, even when you went through all this trouble to get these women together and stuff, you're still playing them. You know, it just kind of was like, no, I'm sorry. I'm kind of done. You know, it's just sort of like I was just sitting there going, okay, I'm done.
This is
I'm done.
where I fault whoever is the showrunners for not following the, if I could say it in this term, the source material. Because some of that was covered in WandaVision about the coven and how she had to betray her own
Yeah, all of her
because
coven
of
is
what
dead.
she saw from Wanda. She betrayed her own because, again, she was charged to steal the power of the Scarlet Witch, and her coven kind of forbade her from doing that. And she was like, I'm the only one that really sees the real outcome of this, because if we don't stop her, everybody's dead. So what ended up happening at the end of WandaVision, Wanda made her forget everything.
Yeah.
She never truly lost her powers, but she had no clue who she was. So that kind of makes sense about the first couple of episodes about her kind of having power and everything, but she doesn't remember everything. She has no clue of the Darkhold anymore. She has no clue about a lot of the stuff from what happened previously to her previous coven and how she did them wrong. She has no memory of that. Everybody else around her does.
Well, she got it back. Um, Clyde, what did you think about her wake up scene when she walks out of the house? she's supposed to be peeling back all these layers
Mhm.
that represent, you know, everything she's forgotten. And so by the time she gets down to who she is, she's bare butt naked. And she
Yep.
stomps out of her house bare butt
Skyclad.
naked.
Yes.
Skyclad, broad daylight.
Mhm.
And the neighbors doing, you know, he's just clipping ahead, just like, oh, um, do you realize and you know, and she's just going on Agnes wise, and I mean, and he's like, does it include you going to put clothes on? Because she is like nothing on other than her hair. It's, to me, that was the best part of that episode. That was the best part of the episode to me. Um, and then the second episode, it was kind of like, okay, let me guess, you're burdened with glorious purpose. She doesn't say that, but it was like, that's what popped in my head as I'm watching them. And
You
they're
thought
on the
about
road. I'm
your
like,
guy
yeah,
Loki
you're
again.
burdened with glorious purpose. Okay, I've seen this, you know. Here comes another one just like the other one.
Hmm.
Done.
No, her purpose is not glorious whatsoever. It's not. I hope they don't turn it into a Loki, because technically there is no redemption for her.
It
It's
kind
just
of,
going to be a restoration of power.
okay. Well, it kind of felt like it. There were aspects of it that to me kind of felt like, oh, okay, they're going to take her on a Loki arc. Fine, she's going to go on this witch's road, You know, she's got the Earth Witch, and the Earth Witch is the mom from the '70s show.
Hmm.
The Earth Witch is the mom from the '70s show. It
Mary
just
Jo, whatever.
Mary Jo Rupp.
I could just hear
Kitty.
her
It's
voice.
Kitty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mary Jo Rupp is it's so, and she was the delight of the second episode. But it's, you know, and it's like, okay, I kind of like the witches around her more than I like her. And it was like, I don't know if I like them enough to go, yeah, I'm gonna go take another step with this. I just, like I said, I sat through 2 episodes and it's like, okay, I've done 2 episodes. You know, maybe next Wednesday, if I've got nothing better to do, I'll sit down, look at 3 and see if it's improved. But, you know, hey, I've watched more episodes of this than I have Rings of Power.
She said my friend forgot to tell me Kitty was in it. Yeah.
Oh, Lissy, you've been betrayed, girl.
Yes. Lissy, just consider yourself part of the coven. You've been betrayed. You have not been. But my whole thing with Agatha all along, I wanted to get back to her roots where it goes more towards Doctor Strange and Fantastic Four. Because eventually we're going to get Fantastic Four. And because she's magical, we're going to eventually have some dealing with Doctor Strange. And Strange did kind of sort of showed up at the end of WandaVision.
I don't quite know if you're going to get this the way this story is laid out. I don't. You might get some iteration of Stephen Strange, but I doubt you're going to get the Fantastic Four unless you think differently, Clyde. I can see Strange maybe popping up towards the end. I don't see the Fantastic Four showing up. You know, especially now that they've actually gotten into the Witch's Road. Now that they're on the Witch's Road, I just don't see, because the Fantastic Four they themselves are not a supernatural group. So I just don't see how they would end up on the Witch's Road. I could see Strange doing it.
That's weird that you said that, but again, source material. I have to take leniency with source material that they're not going to deal with source material.
I just, like I said, the way it looks and feels to me, I don't see it. You have a better chance of like Hela showing up to me.
Mephisto finally show up.
Yeah.
Mephisto, you know.
There's about 15 different other Marvel characters I could see popping up because the road is supposed because the road is supposed to be dangerous. And the whole point, they keep saying all through these episodes, the road is dangerous and no one survived it except Agatha. Supposedly she's the only one who has walked the road and come out the other end. So, and each of these witches that she's taken for her coven have specific abilities. You have a seer, you have an earth magic, you have the potions. What was it? The potions master, Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
What's the fourth one? No, there's her at the center, and I can't remember what the fourth one was. And then there's the kid, the outlier. But like I said, they mentioned
Billy.
Yeah. What's his name?
They think that's a big rumor. They think he'll be Billy.
Okay. But yeah, so it's like, you know, it's he's kind of the outlier, but like I said, there's a comment made about you're supposed to have a child sacrifice for some portion of this, and that it's dangerous, and you know, no one survived it. And it's like, and all of these witches have to do specific things in order for them to get down this road. So it's like,
now you're making me think about one other thing that was talked about but glossed over. It's coming back to the Darkhold.
Wizard of Oz?
No. About how they talked about her history before. The reason why she came out to the other side is because they had the whole coven before. They did the exact same thing.
Okay.
Technically, Agatha was supposed to have been the sacrifice.
Oh, okay.
And because she came out on the other side, Book of Darkhold was formed.
Well, the one thing about the kid is if she asks him for his name or his origin, his backstory, he can say it, but she can't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's like, "What's your name?" He'll say it, and then these weird lines will form over his mouth. And then when they're driving back to her house, and she's like, "Yeah, tell me about yourself." He starts talking, but she can't hear it. Like she's turned up the radio, she's snapping her fingers, she can hear everything but this kid. It's like there's some power that is blocking her from learning whatever this kid is about. And for some reason, right now, thinking of all these together, I keep thinking of the Wizard of Oz, and the kid is Toto. I don't know why, but I look at
I'm
the
not
kid.
thinking that. I'm thinking about
the kid is Toto.
artifact books that was mentioned in Doctor Strange.
Oh, well, they were all destroyed. When she goes, it opens with her she's supposedly solving a murder. A body has been found, a female. She's found in this area. Her body's been crushed. And they find a card from they find a library card that mentions this book that I guess was supposed to be what the Darkhold that was originally disguised as. When she goes over to find that book, because someone tells her there's like 20 copies or something like that, she goes over to the section where the book is supposed to be. All the copies have been burned and destroyed. So they're suggesting that the Darkhold is gone.
See,
Yeah, all the copies
that's
of the
where
Darkhold
I'm
were
confused.
destroyed.
It's like, why are they focusing so much on Darkhold when there was more than just the Darkhold? There was at least 5 different books. Darkhold is just one of them.
Well,
and we know what happened with the Darkhold from was like the Multiverse of Madness, I believe.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Well,
we know what happened with Darkhold, but there's 4 other books that have not been talked about as of yet. Now, I don't believe that they're destroyed. They're just well hidden. And then I believe one of them is held in the library that the mystics and everything that Wong is over. They have one of them. I believe that's where one of them lies at.
Which is why Wanda wanted to get
left.
there.
Yeah, three are not there. So it makes sense that whoever was looking for whatever book, those got destroyed because, again, there's and maybe I'm taking too much into all the Doctor Strange movies plus WandaVision plus Multiverse of Madness. Because one, they never said whatever happened to Baron Mordo.
Yeah.
Because technically he could be going out searching for these books and trying to destroy them. Because he feels that if you're not trained properly to use the magic, you shouldn't have it. Therefore, I'm going to destroy all magic.
Oh,
in that aspect. At least according to the movie. Comic books, different thing.
Kind of like Doctor Strange's, if you don't know how to deal with your vampirism, all vampires must go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kind of one of those things. But then again, we dealt with the Darkhold book, the Darkhold. I forgot what the other 4 were. So you have Baron Mordo, which we don't know what's going on with him. And then we have Agatha, who we got a partial background on, who went through the process that she's setting up. And so far, what you're describing, she has been through this before. We don't know what book they're going after or trying to recreate.
Well, they're not going to have a lot of time because I think altogether it's 6 or 8 episodes, Clyde?
I don't know how many altogether.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 or 8
most episodes. It'd be like 8. So.
Yeah. So it's 6. It's not a long series. So it's and I think the second episode was a little shorter than the first. So I don't know, I couldn't catch any end things though.
I'm
If
just
there was
trying to
something
figure
at
out
the
what
end I
could the
didn't catch.
what is the circle trying to create? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, all they know, because they only know what Agatha has told them, is she wants to walk the witch's road. And and the reason it makes me think of the Wizard of Oz is because the potion master is also, she's bound. She's a goddess or something. But she's bound. So she can't use her full power. And the power that she's using has not she's got all these cases against her because the stuff that she's making is making people sick, and she's got class actions up the yin yang and it's not good. And the seer is like over 400 years old, so she's been there for a while. But so each of them are coming. The Asian girl, her mother is like a Stevie Nicks type character. Stevie Nicks is known as the White Witch, especially if you've seen American Horror Story. I love how she played up on that. And she's always had the more mystical thing, Rhiannon and all of this stuff. So her character, her mother, is supposed to have been a Stevie Nicks type character who walked the road and disappeared. She didn't make it through and she's gone. So each of them, with the exception of Kitty, has something they're trying to gain, including the kid. The kid wants more power. Kitty, Agatha just grabs her. She kind of gets stuff being brought with. But it just kind of made me, a brain, a heart. There's each of them is looking to get something out of this.
But if it's Wizard of Oz, Agatha is not the wizard in this case.
No, it
She
kind of
has
feels
power.
like
She knows what she's doing.
It's like the Wicked Witch of the West is leading Dorothy and is actually personally leading Dorothy and the crew to get whatever. Because they're supposed to get her sister's broom or whatever, but it just it like I said, it just kind of feels a little like, okay, we've kind of done this before.
So it shows that it's 9 episodes, and that brings it to conclusion on October 30th. So
9?
Okay. Wow. Well, Mighty 9 starts October 3rd, so I'll be too busy watching that because I know I like that.
Mighty 9.
I mean, not Mighty 9, Vox Machina, sorry. Mighty 9 doesn't start, I think, until much later next year. But yeah, like I said, I was kind of meh. I'm sure there are people who are gonna love it. I actually liked Ahsoka. I actually liked the Acolyte. A lot of people hated that. So it was time for me to find something that a lot of other people were like, yay. And I'm like, therefore the balance is maintained.
Again, I'm still waiting for Netflix to start Squid Games 2.
I'm waiting for the next season of Arcane. I've been jonesing for the next season of Arcane, and I am jonesing for another season of Castlevania.
I want some Stranger Things to come back.
Yeah.
But they're so much older now, unless it's Stranger Things, the next generation. Because I think it was smart, at least with Beetlejuice. It was like, okay, she's going to be a little too old for, it's just not the same.
Well,
for Lydia,
the one joke still carried over about him marrying Lydia.
Yeah.
That still carried over because now she's older. It's not as inappropriate.
Yes. Also, I found out that Keaton made some demands that if he was going to come back, because one of the things I hadn't really realize is that Beetlejuice himself doesn't really become central to the story until 2/3 the way in. It's not until that third act where he's actually there, for the most part. And so he had told Tim Burton if they want him back, they would have to follow that he not that yes, he's part of the story, but he not be central to the story from beginning to end. Because
kind of following the same formula for the first movie.
Yeah, because they said his entire thing in the whole movie, the first one, is like 17 minutes. That's his screen time for the whole of the first movie. It's about 17 minutes or so.
It was longer than that.
Well,
I mean, him showing his face on screen, maybe 17 minutes, but the character was a lot longer than that because he was a central part of Act 2 when they made the deal for where the couple made the deal with him to scare the people out until Lydia finds him.
But even then, that scene is only a couple of minutes long. It's not very long. It's only a couple of minutes long. And the little scenes when they first discover him and he's in the town and all of that, those are only, I think they're just about a minute or so. We don't get to see him beefily until later into the third act. And so that's what he's told.
The whole wedding thing and everything at the very end. And had to stop him. Yeah.
He also, his second was that they go with more practical effects as opposed to CGIing it. Because those early Burton films were practical effects and puppetry. It wasn't the whole and it gave a Tim Burton film a look and feel that you weren't getting in other places. And so he said, if I come back, these are my, I'm not negotiating on these 2 points. Either you meet the terms or you don't meet the terms. And if you don't want to meet the terms, that's cool. There are other actors out there. I wasn't the only Batman out there. There are other actors who could do that role. So if he
should have been.
Reminder to self, I still need to watch Birdman. I still need to watch the movie Birdman.
I will say I really liked his Batman. And his Batman is one I can watch for him. Bale's Batman, Heath Ledger made that.
Bale.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Clooney.
Heath Ledger made that second Batman with him. Heath Ledger made that movie. To me, Heath Ledger's Joker he dominates. Heath Ledger does with his Joker what Jack Nicholson did with his Joker. They just dominated it. And Michael Keaton was able to kind of counter it. So he didn't get lost. Whereas to me, Christian Bale kind of like, there are certain people who should don the old cape and cowl and they make it their own. And I didn't quite feel it. I wasn't quite feeling him. Bane is good just to laugh at. Tom Hardy's Bane, is good just to sort of like, yeah, okay, it's a cartoon. He's a living cartoon character. He's Schwarzenegger without the, he doesn't. If Bane had any point when go to the chopper, I'd have just died in the theater. It would have been perfect. Get to the chopper. And just, and I was more interested in Bane than I was Bale's Batman. The first Batman, I was like, oh, wow, they shot that here. I know about that story about the Batmobile. There was Chicago. To me, Chicago became Gotham City. And I was more, the first time my eyes were more like, oh, look, they turned Chicago. And then I understand. I loved him in Reign of Fire. I loved him in Reign of Fire. I love Reign of Fire. I still will watch Reign of Fire. He and the dragon and the guys are a lot of fun. I just don't think. Oh, the penguin.
I'm tempted to watch it, but I'm not. I don't see what's his name portrayal of the penguin
He's so lost
being
in.
accurate, being very accurate.
It makes me again think of Tom Hardy as Bane. He was so in the makeup and the costume. And I've seen the clips of it, and I'm like, because when I first saw the clip, I'm like, oh, that's that Irish guy. And it's like, no, that's not him. I've seen him. I saw him do Alexander. I've seen his butt and no clothes on. That's not him. This is not. And it's like, and then he came out, well, yeah, come and see me as the penguin. It's like, and it's like, okay, you know what? Sit in it for maybe an episode and see how it does. Clyde, you feel up to we clip on, we both get together and we clip on and see if it's any good?
No.
Jeez. not even, well,
Yeah.
maybe.
No.
No, because again, it's Colin Farrell, and to me, Colin Farrell does not do well in characters like that. The penguin is a lot more complex than what people think.
No, he is. I mean, even Burgess Meredith's penguin wasn't a one-trick pony. So I get that, and especially
DeVito did a great job with Penguin.
Yeah, DeVito's copper pot is like he's the penguin against, you judge all the other penguins. And I played this town like a harp from hell. DeVito it was like, he owned his penguin like Ledger owned his version of the Joker, like Nicholson owned his version of the Joker. Like,
I
what's
forgot
name?
the guy's name from Gotham. He owned Penguin as well.
Yes,
and he's more acting like the true Penguin from the comic books, more so than
Jonathan loved Gotham, and his favorite bad guys were Penguin and Fish Mooney. And it's like, yeah, but Fish can beat up on the Penguin. Sure, he's like, well, that's kind of fun. It's like, well, geez.
Well, people have to understand the whole thing about the Penguin. The Penguin was never truly a gangster. He was a fence, and he played all sides. And that was his. If that could be a superpower, being able to play all sides with coming out without a scratch, that could be a superpower. And that was the Penguin's superpower. I mean, he was technically the king of Gotham for a reason. All the factions, the Falcons, all the mobsters and everything, nothing got transported, laundered, or exported without him knowing.
Yeah. If he didn't have a part in it, he at least knew about it. I used to think if the Penguin ever just decided he was done with everybody, they'd be dead. Because he knew everybody's dirt.
Yeah, that I probably would agree. 'Cause I haven't seen all of the new Cape Crusader animated series, but it didn't start off good to me, so I didn't follow through with it. But then again, I'm not a big Batman fan. Yeah.
In some ways,
Go
you
ahead.
kind of feel sorry for Gotham's Penguin. He's this physically, he is this little guy in this big world, and all these other guys are psychotic, and they kind of tower out over him. And yet he's the one playing, he's the one playing 4-dimensional chess. And the only person who is kind of close to him was Fish Mooney. I love the fact that the female character that, they had this great sort of
I kind of
chemistry.
wish that they would have didn't do Fish Mooney. I wish they would have did this other character, which would have been Roulette.
Hmm.
I'd rather have Roulette, because then it would have been a perfect match to Penguin.
Okay.
Because Roulette will always take that gamble. She might not be able to play everybody against one another like Penguin would, but she knew when to bet on somebody and against somebody. And she would have been a perfect foil
Okay.
to Penguin, instead of like how Fish Mooney was. To me, Fish was more of a perfect foil to Hugo Strange in Gotham.
Okay.
But Hugo came so much later. And
Yeah.
Fish was slowly coming out of coming out of the series by the time they got to Hugo Strange.
Yeah, I was about to say, by the time we got to the second season, they were sort of pulling Jada out, which kind of made me sad, because it was like, okay, one of the baddies is a badass black chick. She ain't playing that.
Brought in Chris Rock. He could have been the Joker.
Oh, Chris
I gotta
Rock.
go though, everybody. I gotta hop on the other show. So, see y'all next week.
Post your art.
I will.
Thank you. Chris Rock is the Joker. I don't know if I could have watched a episode with Chris Rock at the Joker, just because I'd be laughing too hard. Because he would be a funny Joker.
I want to see him as menacing.
I don't see him as menacing, but I see him as hilarious as all get out. And I just don't know if I could
calculated, but never menacing.
Yeah, but maybe that would be the edge of it. That moment when he turns. But nowadays, I would see him. I try to picture him being menacing, and I keep picturing Will Smith coming and slapping him in the face. So, that's kind of kill it. I'm a bad woman. I'm evil. I have no comics to review this week. I spent my day at the DMV, and I just, by the time, and then I took John shopping, and that boy can spend some money. So
what did he get?
They had farmers market at the Daily Center today, but we got there towards the end of it. So that it was kind of, and I think because it's we're getting to the end of season, there weren't as many people. So you didn't see as many stalls, but this one guy had a good produce stand, and John loves pears. And he had Michigan pears, Michigan Boss pears, and he loves those. He also loves these things called yellow pears, which are these yellow pears that we only used to be able to get on the north side. I can never find them over here. But at Tony's on the north side, they have them. And John loves those. And then Asian pears when they're ripe. I got into those when I was stationed in Okinawa and infested my son with the love of them. So we went there and bought 4 pears for $6 because I was using my debit card. So they had to charge me extra. Then we went to Target and spent money. Because he wanted hot chocolate, which I forgot to get this month, because it's still warm, but then it cooled down for a bit. It's like, oh, it's cool. You want hot chocolate, and mommy didn't get hot chocolate, so he's like, it can cool down again. Auntie Lisa sent me money. I'm getting hot chocolate, so we got hot chocolate. We got marshmallows. He got several different little snacks. And I feel so idiotic. Threshold created these Halloween plates, these little appetizer plates. They're black, and the one that he wanted had a snake on it, which we got and we paid for. But when I was packed, because I brought my own bag, so we wouldn't have to pay the extra bag fee. And for some reason, when I was packing everything in bags and giving him his bag and getting my bag, I forgot the plate.
Oof.
But luckily, because I had paid for it and I had my receipt number, I was able to call Target when I got home when I realized I couldn't find it. And John was like, "You forgot it." I was like, "I'm an idiot." So I called Target and they were like, "Oh, yeah, it's been turned in. When you're going to come, we can either refund it or you can come get it." It's like, I want to go get it. So Saturday, I will go downtown again to the Target on State Street and get this boy's plate.
Okay.
So he won't be looking at me like my mama's an idiot. I lost it. And then he found a birthday card for my mother that cost $11.
Wow. He has expensive taste.
Oh, he if it's expensive enough, he will find it. And then look at me like, "Mommy got Visa?" And it's like, "Yeah, mama's Visa's working today." Let's go pay. Because for what few things we got, it came to 40 something dollars. So it's like,
That's the inflation of everything.
and then I took him to, we like to take the Metro home, and he really loves the Metro. So it's like, okay, we'll make a whole day of it. We'll go to the DMV. We'll deal with that. We'll hit Target because I got to get tomatoes, and then get you some stuff. And we'll go to the Metro and Millennium Station. They have the various restaurants, and of course they have Burger King. So he wanted a
American cheeseburger, just like in Iron Man.
He wanted his Whopper Junior with cheese and his fries. $13 for a Whopper Junior with cheese and fries. I'm like, dang. By the time we got through all the other shopping and stuff, I was like, do I have enough money to buy anything? And I'm looking at my account and it's like, you have like $7. And to get another
No
Whopper
graham
Junior,
crackers for you. No first aid, no graham crackers. Just go directly home. don't pass go.
But the good thing is, as soon as we got his food and we were going over to where you sit to wait upstairs for the train, they made the announcement that our train was boarding. So it was like, now see, that's what you call timing. We got our food. Now we're gonna get on our train.
And get to going here now. Don, I agree. He does play a decent gangster, but not in Fargo. I remember how he was in CB4. If you ever have not watched the movie CB4, you need to watch that because that was AKA a parody that he did about gangster rap. And he was supposed to be a gangster rapper.
Okay.
And he actually donned this persona of somebody that was locked up. And that person got wind that he took his persona and everything. And like I said, one thing led to another. But yeah, he could play a gangster, but him being menacing, no. He was never considered menacing.
He can be funny. I could see him funny as the Joker. He couldn't have done the Joker movie because I don't see him being unfunny, if that makes sense. The whole point about the Joker movie was he was a failed comic. To some degree.
No, he wasn't a failed comic. It was.
Doesn't he? He gets his shot and he blows it somehow.
No,
it doesn't work out.
No.
Okay.
The Joker movie was more complex than what it was.
Okay.
Because he was literally losing it. He found success, but he lost it in his head.
Oh, okay. He's
remember,
losing his mind.
You have to understand he suffered so much loss that he couldn't take success. Because I know the first couple of times that he did it, it's like he kept bombing, he kept bombing, he kept bombing. He still had to take care of his mom. His mom died on him. The world kept spinning at him and all this other stuff. He something snaps within him, and then he found success.
But he couldn't deal with it.
Not really couldn't deal with it. He put a mirror to the world when he had that success. Some
So
people thought he was insane. Other people was like he's telling the truth. That's just the way the world was.
he was George Carlin.
With psychotic tendencies.
With killer punchlines.
Yes.
If you're a punchline.
I mean, that's the thing. And then speaking of which, did you guys see the trailer for the new one?
No.
I've seen I've seen trailer for it. Yep.
I'm still kind of like shaking my head. Lady Gaga as a possibility of Harleen Quinn.
No.
Hmm.
No. No.
That's who's in the new one. They actually got Lady Gaga in this one.
No. See,
And
I'm gonna get in
she's
trouble.
playing a Harley Quinn type. So I was like,
I'm going to jail. Y'all gonna come see me when I go to jail? Before I do my my dead woman walking, y'all gonna come see me. Tell me how you feel, sorry, pray. Clyde, you
no,
have
I'm
to
going to
come
be
pray
like,
for
see, the Joker was telling the truth. He put, like I said, he put a mirror to the world, and it caused that much of division. Some people are up here applauding him, while other people are that afraid of him and feel that he needs to be locked away in an insane asylum.
Yes, let's send everybody to Arkham because they have such a success rate in regards
Arkham
to
doesn't exist in
getting
this
people.
in this Joker universe, or does it? Because they don't really talk too much about Batman in the Joker movies.
No, this was all the way they because I didn't watch it all. I think somebody had did I was reading part of the comic book version of the movie, and I'd gotten so far and it went, okay, thank you. So yeah, I don't think Batman is really this is because I guess this is supposed to be Joker's origin story, pre-Batman.
Or one possibility.
Yeah.
The only reason I keep
So
saying one possibility because of the whole Three Jokers storyline.
so yeah, I don't know. I could see where the guy who plays him was trying
Joaquin
to go.
Phoenix.
Yeah, and he's done some amazing movies. I loved him in Gladiator. I'm really fond of it when I want to see him die for something. Joaquin Phoenix is one of those people. It's like, I just want to see you get murdered, unless you're beating an alien to death with a baseball bat. Then it's like, yeah, let Joaquin live. But otherwise I keep wanting to see him die. And that's horrible. He's one of those people I know I could never meet because it'd be like, oh, I just love watching you die. I mean, yeah, it's kind
That's
of
messed up. That's messed up.
I'm at my happiest when you get dead.
But that's the whole thing about the upcoming Joker movie. I was dismayed when they showed Lady Gaga as the possibility of Harley Quinn.
And I think they got her for maybe shock value, because sometimes they hire someone to play something, and it's like, okay, you didn't hire this person because you thought they were good for the job. You just thought shock value.
It wouldn't be shock value. I believe that she could play off of Joaquin Phoenix as a good Harley Quinn. The love struck one.
Okay, more like the where she's running around calling them pudding and Mr. J.
Back remember, they're going all the way back when she was a psychologist.
Yeah, and then they're going back to the Batman animated series Harley, where there's a Batman and I think it's the first animated series or the second where they show what happens, her progression, how the backstory between her, and how she starts out psychoanalyzing the Joker, and then he starts he switches the tables on her,
Well,
and then slowly but surely
mhm.
she starts it's her having she being the psychoanalyst, and then having the control, and then he ends up having the control. He figures out that button of hers that he needs to hit, and once he hits that button, he's in control.
Mhm.
And he puts her in that position. um and then of course she's just totally lost. But that's the one where she's Puddin' and Mr. J. She's either calling him Mr. J or Puddin', because that's the same one where her and she has that one moment of liberation where she and Poison Ivy, she has
That was in the Harley Quinn animated series where they
no, it's a Batman. There's a Batman animated series episode where something happens between Harley and Joker, and she gets kicked out, and Poison Ivy finds her, and they go on a spree together because she goes to this club where all the henchmen hang out, and she does this whole song and dance number and everything. And I think it's Batgirl that has to help catch them. But it's for them. They had fun for this one point. Ivy got her to get out from out under Joker's thumb and become more the Harley Quinn we identify with, the more modern Harley Quinn.
You need to watch the newer Harley Quinn because they went deeper. They went deeper into that.
Okay, well,
they went a lot deeper.
That was the first time we saw her flip, because there was something happened between her and the Joker, and he kind of kicks her out. He kicks her to the curb, and then she ends up hooking up with Poison Ivy, who's like, you need to get out from under, because Poison Ivy's, she's her own woman, no matter what's going on. She's her own woman, good, bad, or indifferent.
There's a lot of back history you need to read dealing with Harley and Ivy.
But I'm saying this was the episode that was the impetus for all that stuff that we're seeing now. That was the first time there was an episode where Harley and Ivy were together, equally together, because they were getting successful. They were actually pulling capers and pulling them off and doing well. And I think Joker gets wind of it, because suddenly she doesn't need him anymore. So, and that's when things kind of start turning against them.
Now, Clyde, like I said, I want to bring her up to date. Would you say that she needs to read Gotham Sirens? Because Gotham Sirens talks a lot about the back history of Ivy, Harley, and Selina.
Wouldn't hurt. It's not my favorite Gotham villainous piece, but it would shed some light. Yeah.
But
I enjoyed it. It's like that was one of my kind of like go-tos because, like I said, I was so anti-Batman.
Well,
until I came back to Gotham Sirens. I was like, oh, this explains a lot about why the women were kind of treated off to the left, and then how they made a go at it and was successful. I was like, this works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also people forget Ivy didn't start out as a bad guy. At the early Batman comics, at the end, because some of those stories, especially if they were doing like more than just a single issue, you would have you would come to the end of the story, there might be some extra pages. They would throw in a poison, and they would then throw in a Black Canary, a Poison Ivy. There were these female second string characters. That's how Black Canary got started. Zatanna used to get those little extra pages, and Poison Ivy would appear as a secondary character in a short that way. And and she would get so many pages, and then over so many issues they would continue. It'd either be this really quick short, or over so many issues they would continue her little story at the back end of a Batman comic. And she was, if I remember correctly, she wasn't the bad guy back then. I think they were trying her as a hero. I'll have to go through it online and see if I can find some. If I do, I will send you the link.
Okay, because I'm just up here. It's like, in a way, it's like if you want to think about it that way, so you could say the same thing about Selena.
Yeah, Selena.
Selena went through so many different iterations, because at one time she was a Batwoman at one time.
Okay, I don't remember her as a Batwoman. I do remember
that's old school Batman.
Yeah, I was about to say my early
Earth 2 Batman.
My early thing, because the first time I saw Selena and Batman with any romance was on the TV show, and then when they came up with the Huntress, I saw a couple of issues of Huntress, and then she was remembering her parents together, and they revealed her mother was, her dad was Batman, her mom was Selena Kyle, and it was like, yeah, they got together, the Batman cat, they did it. But yeah, it's interesting. You have these characters, these secondary characters, and it's like, okay, somewhere the decision got made. Well, we'll make her a good guy. We'll make her a bad guy. But I have early memories of her as I'm pretty sure she had little standalone things, and she was the hero of those. She wasn't the villain.
Okay, so they was going the anti-hero route with her.
Something like that. Yeah. At one point they were kind of going, because she was never in the TV show that I remember. I don't remember seeing her in the TV show, but in the books, like I said, there would be a little short at the end of the books, and you would see, like I said, they would do a Zatanna short, you get a Black Canary, and there were some Poison Ivy shorts. And I don't remember her being the villain in those.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to switch gears a bit here. Let me go ahead and take the reins here for we could talk about one book that I'm reading, which I haven't finished. I'm going to show everybody what I'm reading as right now. I'm going to probably do my book report for that a little bit later, maybe within the next couple of weeks here.
Who are you?
But I do have a book that I am going to talk about that I did. I thought it was going to be something of if I could say of worth, but not so much.
Oh.
So the book that I'm going to end up probably doing book report on is something that if you're a Jack Kirby fan, you're up here going to be like, why haven't you done that as a rewind or a flashback until now? That's because I was not able to get my hands on a copy of it. And that is The Hunger Dogs. This is one of the few Jack Kirby graphic novels that a lot of people talk about, that I finally got a copy of it. I started reading the first couple of pages, and I was like, oh, this is getting to stuff that I don't know about. And I just couldn't just like instantly just get into it. So I have to take my time to read this, just like with Modesty Blaze. Reading Modesty Blaze is like, oh yeah, this is like reading comic strips. And comic strips goes a hell of a lot faster than a comic book. So things, just go, it's so rapid succession that I was like, okay, it follows logic, but it's also sped up. And because it's sped up, I have to pay more attention to it. I have the same feeling about the way that the Hunger Dogs are being portrayed here, where the lack of my knowledge about some of the things that's going on with New Genesis is causing me a hard time, really enjoying it in the very first beginning pages on it, because I'm trying to understand the whole thing about on Apocalypse, why they have this one region section off where the people were labeled hunger dogs. I was like, this was never talked about before. And seeing Darkseid's reaction about you have to get them back in order and this, that, and the other. It's like, really? This is not like typical Darkseid. So that was one of the reasons why it's like, you know what? I gotta sit back. I gotta actually take my time, read this, absorb it, and then I'm going to do my report on it later. But the book that we're going to talk about today is something that I want to talk about because I think this is just kind of like the way that things might end up going sometime soon here. And that is Birds of Prey Uncovered. What do you think this book is about? Take a guess.
They,
Anybody?
let's see, Batgirl,
It's a wraparound cover,
Huntress.
by the way. It's an actually wraparound cover, so I just going to do it like this.
Oh no! Oh my God, that Harley is just, and she takes up like half that back page.
That's the thing. She's on the back, so I'm happy. Now, I'm not a big Harley fan. What do you think this book is about?
All the Bat chicks are 36 triple Ds.
No. I give you a hint. Normally, a book like this would be later printed as a hardcover for a reason.
Okay. They don't go naked, do they?
No.
Okay, because I'm thinking the fishnets are a bit much.
Now, I'm up here thinking that I'm about to get ready to read a comic book. What this really is, it starts out with that one page here, and
Okay.
they're reading all the different covers of the books that they were in, and the page after that is nothing more than a covers gallery.
I'm sorry.
So they're going through all the different covers that was generated for Birds of Prey comic books.
Are they commenting on the covers? Like,
No
they made my
comments.
butt look big. Why so
An
serious?
archive of covers that are just being highlighted. That's what this book is about. And it kind of makes me wonder, is this the state of where we're at with modern comic books now?
If Dynamite did that, they'd have a 200-page book for one title.
And notice, I'm showing you something here. Notice, I have not came across the advertisement as of yet. This is a $5.99 book,
and no advertising.
and I'm sitting up here. It's like, you know what? With as many times as we are up here talking about how variant covers and stuff sells, I mean, this is a nice little answer to that. And it's like, but is this the way that modern comic books are going?
Where it's
Where they
just
could
the
get away
cover
with selling a book like this
of just
that has
covers.
nothing but all the different covers of the different Birds of Prey variants that were noteworthy.
It's a collector's issue.
It doesn't even come off as a collector's issue. It wasn't even advertised like it was going to be a full it covers issue like it was.
But I'm saying if you had a favorite cover that you wanted to take out the book, frame it or whatnot, it's like that's seems like how they put it together. Pick your favorite ones and frame them. I guess to me it would have been, I would have liked it if like they'd have had the girls commenting, like jokes, like, why so serious? Oh my God, that makes your butt look so big. Really? Do you actually stand like that when I don't stand like that when I'm fighting. Do I look that crazy when I scream? But then that's just me.
Right.
But for the guys who get off on this sort of thing, and at least they didn't have them standing pigeon-toed.
Yeah.
I mean, I get really crazy when I see the young girls drawing their anime characters, and they're supposed to be, samurai or superheroines, and they're standing pigeon-toed. And it's like, do you not get that if you're standing there pigeon-toed, you're not balanced? A toddler, with a pea shooter can take you out.
So that's pretty much the essence of this book. Outside the very first page of the book, it was nothing but a covers gallery. So I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe it fits the need of those that are more into the art.
or
But
those.
where does that leave us for people who want story?
Maybe this is for the
I
guys
mean,
who, still spend their nights with the blanket over their head and a little flashlight.
you never know. I don't know. But
For those that
you
can't
know,
afford all the variants, they've got them all in one package, I guess.
Yeah.
but then again, I could pull off other books on my shelf where I have like the DC Cover Girls and stuff, where it's like a hardcover 40-page book where it actually goes in depth about why the cover was made the way that it was. This to me is just nothing more than a photo gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about to, I have a Frazetta. I've got art books of Frazettas and Tolkien and whatnot, and they have, along with the art, you have this interesting background into
Mhm.
how that piece was made, what it was made for. You know, if I'm it's not just collecting the art; it's also getting into the mind of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
But I also say, as an artist, to me, that's important. But
This is one of them. This is one of the books that I was talking about here.
okay,
Like I said, hardcover and everything. And as you go through it, it shows you like the different covers. It's like, it's not just relegated to just
I love the
a lot of the
Supergirl
modern
sign.
a lot of modern stuff, but it has like a lot of different stuff that comes through it. And like I said, this is done by Louise Simonson. It was
But
written
it's
by Louise Simonson, so it made sense for when they start talking about the different covers. It's not just a covers gallery. They actually talk about why the books were covered the way that they were, the significance of everything behind it, and everything to that magnitude, why certain things happen.
yeah.
Kind of like, we just got through talking about her. That's the actual first appearance, I think, of Poison Ivy right there in Batman. What was that, 181?
Yeah.
And then you got Batman, Harley, and Ivy #1 down below it. And it actually, shows the covers, gave a little bit of the history, and was talking about how certain things were iconic and everything. And like I said, one of the things that was kind of interesting here is that it just didn't talk about just one particular character. It went through like most of the DC universe. I mean, we had a lot of different Wonder Woman covers that they talked about here. We talked about Harley, we talked about Harley and everything, and then we have like Lois Lane.
Oh, when she was in her hot pants, 70s.
You know, I wonder if they have the one that the book that I always wanted to get for Lois Lane. Yeah, there it is. Eventually, I'm going to own this book. This one right here.
Mm-hmm.
That one right there. I'm going to eventually own that book because that to me is still a story before its time here.
Yeah.
And that is 106, Lois Lane 106,
Okay.
which had the best line ever in it, where she asked Superman, it's like, could he still love her if she stayed that way?
Yeah.
But this book here does not have that same significance where you actually talking about why the covers are the way that they were. To me, it's just kind of like I hate to say it's a poor man's
It's
a poor
porno,
man's
but
art gallery, but it serves more than that.
I I can see a bunch of 15-year-olds looking at this and fantasizing. I mean, because it's not like those are the best covers ever.
No, but at the same time, it's kind of sort of like one of those things that is modern. This is something that most of them would have recognized. They probably won't grab a book like this to
I
see
would.
a lot of
Yes.
the stuff. I mean, yeah, the front cover, the front cover does have the famous Adam Hughes 180 Wonder Woman 184. That they took that from that book. They
Yeah.
touched it on the side. They took the full cover on the side here. But again, even with the back cover, it's like it shows a lot of the different female driven covers here. And some of them they probably wouldn't even recognize. Like the Preacher one down here, most of them would have recognized the Green Arrow, Black Orchid,
Catwoman is Mona Lisa.
100 Bullets. I just don't know. But overall, if I have to give this a score here, I would give this a score of I I don't want to give it a 1, but I
Meh.
have to give it a 1 because it just to me it's like I don't want to say it can't have a score because technically it had 1 page of comic story.
Does
And,
meh
and pretty
count as a
much it was
score?
just like the dialogue was just, pretty much them, joking about looking through all the different covers.
Which may not, like I said, this is why I was thinking they missed something because they should have had them. If they were going to do that, then they should be commenting on through.
That's the whole thing. It's like, they were up here. It's like, oh, they kind of like was sort of like making fun of the idea, but they just never went truly into it beyond that. And that was the whole thing. It's just like 1 page, but the rest of it was just nothing but art gallery. I can't say that I can't say that it doesn't have a grade, but yet at the same time, it's like, is it really a 1 out of 10?
It's a
It's
meh.
kind of hard to put it in that aspect here.
It's
So
a meh. It's a meh.
it's not even
Meh's,
that. It's just more
meh
along the
is
lines.
a
Hey,
grade.
hey guys, if you want, an art book or pictures of variant covers, here it is. That's it.
If you want to play stroke the carrot under the blanket at night with a flashlight, here's the material.
To
That's
me, the
about
images are not even
I
that.
don't even. Yeah, it doesn't really fit that either. It's
It
not
doesn't
like
fit
a
that either.
swimsuit at all.
It's
yeah,
just a
that's true. If they'd
gallery
have
of
been less
variant covers.
clothed than something, that would at least been something. But it's just to me, it's at least with the book that you had, there was substance to it.
Yeah,
Here are
this
these
look.
cup. Here's the
This is just one
history.
of several. Because I
Yeah,
know I have another one where it's nothing but Wonder Woman. But this is one of the few that I have with all like the DC cover girls. I think I'm trying to get one where it's all DC talking about the DC bombshell covers.
Hmm.
All
Yeah,
the
if they
bombshell
had
covers that they did.
they did like humorous commentary from the characters, you could have at least Deadpooled it a little
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
bit, but
You know,
but
I
then you probably that if you do that and you got your top of the line cover artists, you risk making them upset probably if some of the comments rankled their pride. So
yeah, I'm
maybe
into
not.
stuff like this. I love this book. It's the astounding illustrated history of fantasy and horror.
Hmm.
And I love the back. It says monsters are real, ghosts are real too. They live inside us, and sometimes they win. Stephen King. And so the back of this is I love that illustration. So much universe, so little time, which is Terry Pratchett. But this is something if I were to like have something that I was apprenticing someone on illustration, because it's got classic covers and a discussion of the history of the books these covers were done for. Um, as well as the genres themselves. So you get this is like an artist book, like that DC book you had. These are artist books. If you're not an art nerd,
I
you're
mean,
not gonna find you're not gonna really get into these books.
this is comic book adjacent, but things like here, 20, 20th years of Street,
Street Fighter?
and this is an art book. This
Yeah.
shows you all the different artworks over the 20 years, and it talks about all the different artists and their representation of all the characters, all the way up to, I believe this was Street Fighter 4. That's 20 years. So within those 20 years. So we had like all the different art variations and design choices and everything within this book. And this was released by Udon. Now, this is a pretty thick book. That is a pretty thick book. So,
Yeah.
this is what I expect for something like this. If you're going to do a covers gallery and everything, I'm expecting something like this.
Yeah, make it worth my while, not just something. Yes, I want to see the covers. I want to see the art, but I also want to understand what it took to make those covers. I took a little time out today. I don't know if you guys know who Trent Kanuga is. He's one of those guys. He has done concept art and character and world building art for like Hearthstone. He's done a lot of Magic the Gathering and whatnot. And it turns out that one of his last jobs he did where he was working for someone, he now has his own, he has his own shop now, and they take on contracts for his shop. But one of the last jobs he did where he was an employee was all the crests for League of Legends. He designed, and he I was watching part of the video. It's over an hour and so long, but he takes you through what it takes to design these crests. What are the decisions you have to make? Where do you start in the simplest way? And then how do you build up and iterations of a simple design of each singular design and what it takes to go back and forth with the client, and how he works with his team on that stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm like fascinated because after I've got And the Coming of Nighttime done, I've got another story, which is like Wakanda in space, but it's an empire and little kingdoms within the empire and all these different places and kingdoms and groups and stuff. I'm sitting there going, ooh, they should all have, like in the old days, coat of arms, because that's what the crests are like, were the old medieval coat of arms. And so I've been thinking about working out coat of arms for these royal houses and their different kingdoms and different groups and stuff. And thinking about where do you start with that, and watching him, it's like, wow, that process. And he was like, yeah, each one may have taken me a couple of days to render, but it took 3 months to work them out because there were so many steps that you have to take. And I love Kanuga because he's one of the early artists that I started watching on YouTube, because I love the way he takes you into the creative process of character design, what it's like to world build, what it takes, because he's worked on so many different video games. And, he takes you through everything from, it's not just building a big cityscape, but it's like, okay, do they have buckets for water? Do they have latrines? Do they have, do people carry axes and pitchforks? You have to design all these things. Do they have a market? All these market stalls. What's inside those stalls? You have to sort of like, especially for a video game, because you've got people going into different areas and stuff, and you never know where, a gamer might go. So he says, you find yourself designing stuff for that normally you wouldn't think about if you were just doing like a 2D, on a page. But when you're doing that world where they have to go in and interact, you have to think of all the little things. And it's like, oh, okay, these are things I need to keep in the back of my head as I start working that out. For those of you who are watching, you want to learn some stuff on there, Trent Kanuga's the dude. Go watch Trent, because he's killer.
All right.
To me.
Well, it's that time once again.
Oh.
The elder statesman is about to take the floor. The gold standard is about to do his job here. And I get this to a certain degree.
Before we do that, I read a book the last few weeks that I thought of both of you reading it. Mm-hmm. You may have read it before, I don't know, but it's a Chicago kind of a reminiscent of childhood in Chicago, and it is called "The Coast of Chicago" by Stuart Dybek.
Don't know that one.
Okay. Talks about neighborhoods where he grew up and things, but it tells some stories from the neighborhoods, things that look like they have happened, and others were like legendary, like fables about things that happened in different parts of the city. But since B-Man, my character B-Man was in Chicago of the '60s, I was like, yeah, now I want to write more of that because this really got me energized about the city.
Yeah.
Um, it was really good. So it's worth checking out. Stuart Dybek, The Coast of Chicago. And one of my friends that grew up in Chicago, lives around here now, recommended it. And, he is good to tell stories about the places he grew up in, the neighborhoods that he was part of in Chicago when he was a little kid. And we're about the same age. So definitely, Elaine, our generation of childhood time. So
I remember when I brought the boys back here the first time,
mhm.
getting on the red line, and I was so disappointed because it used to be there were times a day where they drove so fast the tracks would hum. I don't know if you remember that, Joe. You probably were
No,
too
no, no,
young.
no. That again, we grew up where it was like there was trains that made all stops, and there was trains that would just go express. It would just not stop, and once they hit a certain speed, you could hear the hissing.
Mm.
Or the humming of the track. I used to just hear that and go, what? And sometimes, you're in the subway and it's humming and it's weird because when you're in a tunnel, you're between stops. It's going that fast, it's humming. It becomes almost surreal. There's this and it echo because there's the sound generated, it's the wheels, and now they don't let the trains go that fast.
Not
The
no means.
trains, yeah, they don't let the trains go that fast anymore. But back then it was the Wild West. But you could feel the car vibrating, and the sound of the wheels would reverberate off the walls.
Mhm.
It was just in late night. It was just, you know, and I whenever I watch Midnight Meat Train, I remember the wheels. It's just so no.
Mm.
Go and as a kid, you're a teenager because I used to work as a day laborer. So I was going to DeSable. I would get on the train, go all the way to the north side, go to the manpower office, and then go out in the suburbs and work at the Jovan factory till about 1 a.m. And by the time we got back, cashed my check, and got home, it was like 3 a.m. in the morning.
Ooh.
So, so yeah, you're on them trains at night. It kind of feels like, if you've ever heard those old 60s sci-fi movies and, you're going interdimensionally or something, they would have their woo, woo, woo. And it's kind of how it felt to me. Someone else may have heard it differently, but to me, it was kind of like, and I would hear that you're going into a new dimension, a dimension of light and sound. And be like, oh God, I'm going to die on this train.
Hmm.
Yeah, so if you ever want interesting stories, guys who got, executed on the Ravenswood Express, or what downtown, if you ever do something you want to, what downtown Chicago was like in the 60s and 70s, because the landscape now is so much
Completely
different
different.
Oh yeah.
from what it
Completely
is.
different.
It is so different. Because I don't even think the Michael Todd doesn't even do movies anymore. I don't think there is a Michael Todd theater anymore. So, so much of what was there is gone.
Yeah.
So if you're going to work on your stories for the 60s and stuff, ask me and Joy. I will
Sure.
happily.
And I didn't call it Chicago, it was the city, but you could tell. I mean,
Yeah.
the references. I didn't want to be held up by somebody that grew up there going, "Oh no, 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 this wasn't right." So it was fictionalized, but
Mhm.
it definitely had the same spirit as, this guy put into the actual Chicago setting.
Right.
So it's just inspired me to. I'm still writing B-Man stuff, so I was like, oh yeah, I got to work some of this in. This is really cool. But
Like a lot of even the layout of the trains is gone too.
Yeah, there are trains there are train lines that don't exist anymore, or they've been sort of shut off.
Modified. They've been
Yeah, they've been
modified.
modified because the what is now the red line um didn't what we now think of as the red line in part was also the green line, because it would come so far and then split, and one part would go off along the King Drive route, and then the other part would go onto the expressway, depending on where you were going. And it didn't go all the way to 95th back then. And then the one that stayed above ground would split, and then it would go, I think now it stops at 63rd and Cottage, and I remember it going much farther southward than that. And then
the green used to go to 63rd University. It used to go all the way to University, and then they cut off University.
And it used to go farther than Damon. It used to go a lot farther southwest than Damon. And then they cut both trains off so that eastward it only goes as far as Cottage. And then westward it only goes as far as Damon. But they used to go much farther along those routes. So there's a lot of the trains that they've and they had better names back then.
Yeah,
they had better names.
I mean, it used to be an A and a B train, and the A, B, all stops and express.
Yeah, and that was
they took all that away.
Yeah,
because it was like red line A, red line B, all stops and express. The same thing with the green line. The green line would have been like Green Line Damon A, Green Line Damon B, Green Line University A, Green Line University B.
Yeah,
because that one can never have all stops, because it splits into two different directions on the south side, and it split in two different directions going north.
Yeah, and then the Ravenswood Express actually was one train. One went out all the way to Howard. But then as you got to the Damon stop, right before Damon, it would split and turn and go into what we now know as the blue line. No, the brown line. It would become the brown line, where the brown line runs along the street. So they totally remapped the train system, because when I came back, I had to relearn. And I would go, oh, we're going to, I'm going to take you to Howard. We'll take the Ravenswood Express. And my sister would go, there's no more Ravenswood Express. So, what do you mean there's no more Ravenswood Express? Or what about the Roosevelt? Nope. Sorry. There's no, it's like, what happened to my trains? They screwed my
So you probably got back just enough time for Skokie Express.
Yeah. With the Skokie Swift.
Yeah.
The Skokie Swift. Yeah. The Skokie Swift is also known as the Yellow Line. And you get the Skokie Swift at the same place outside of rush hour where you get the Evanston Express.
And that was the one that always got me messed up, because the Evanston Express would go no further than downtown, the loop. It would go no further than the loop. And that always boggles me, because it will bypass all the middle stops until you get to the actual loop. But on game days, it would stop at Addison.
Yeah.
On game days, it would stop at Addison, but normally it would bypass Addison and bypass all those extra stops until it gets to the actual loop. So you have like the 4 different stops actually go to Howard. So you had like Howard, Granville, Loyola, and I forgot what the other one was. And then after that, Loyola Sharon,
it would make stops in Rogers Park.
It was a straight shot till you get to downtown. Unless there was a ball game that day, then it would stop at Addison.
Yeah, and nowadays it doesn't start stopping. It gets to Belmont,
Mhm.
and then it'll take you Belmont, Fullerton, Wellington, and then on into the loop. And the brown line is what stops at the merchandise mart.
Mhm. Green Line used to take you to Merchandise Mart back in
It,
the day.
but now the green line runs. It takes over what they took from the red line in the above ground, running parallel to King Drive.
Mhm.
And then once you get to McCormick Place, it switches over and it heads over to Roosevelt and then goes through the loop and at Lake Street turns and goes on down to Oak Park.
Mhm.
Okay, back to comics.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Because
Well, you made mention of the book, so that's sorry about that.
no, that's okay. But the one the main one I'm going to review, and I don't have a physical copy of it, so Joe's going to help me out here in a second. Has a lot to do with fantasy art, so
Ooh.
I'm very curious to see what you think of that. I kind of dinged it because of the way that, not exactly dinged it, but it was different than what I'm used to. So, but and it was a very light week. If you like seeing the bad guys and how they tick and how they work, we had the two. We
Yes,
had
a new
the
Destro came out.
Yep,
Yay!
yep, and they're both really good. More that seeing behind the facade of what we think of as villains to see how they operate, how they think, how they are, in some ways, the protagonists of their own stories, especially in their minds. But both of these were really good and very much on the uh, very same vibe of this, of showing you the side of the bad guys and some of the other guys that are worse than them. So you're like, okay, I can root for this guy compared to these guys, or this gal. So good stuff there. But the probably my favorite was, and this is probably the closest we're going to get to any kind of a crossover with Warner and Hanna-Barbera characters. But DC had their Warner Brother Multiverse Collision, Multiverses Collision Detected.
All based
Uh,
upon the video game.
yep, yep, and
Okay.
it is it also has a hook with Barda and Scott Free in here, Joe.
Ooh.
So that was interesting, but this was fun. It was a fun little
Is that Bugs
exercise.
Bunny?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of cartoon characters in here.
Yeah, I see
So
Steven Universe and Garnet.
yep, yep. I think
I
it's a
see
4 issue
Jake.
limited
Jake
series.
was
So
there from Adventure Time.
yep, yeah,
Oh,
you got
yeah,
new and old. So yeah, it's cute.
Tom and Jerry.
Yep.
Where did you get that? How much is it?
This one is $4.99.
Okay, I have to call James and get a copy of that. My John loves Bugs Bunny. He loves Tom and Jerry, and that may get him
Yeah,
to read it.
you should like this. But what I'm going to review is a Dynamite comic called Red Sonja, Death and the Devil #1.
Ooh.
Cover price is $4.99. It's written
Mm.
by Luke Lieberman. The art and color is done by Alberto Locatelli. Letters by Dave Sharp, and it is rated M for mature. So, Joe, can we see the? Yeah, there we go. There's the cover. And the cover's okay. It's a Dynamite, so they got lots of variations. This happens to be the one that was on my preview copy. So
She's pigeon toed.
I know, but for a cover of a Red Sonja that will draw attention, okay, I can see it. So let's look at the first page of art, Joe. Okay, so um, we start off with an infiltration of a temple of Set. As you can see, one of the sacrifices with the blazing red hair is not going to go quietly because that's not what she's there for.
Nope.
Okay.
Can I make the one thing that I hate about this page?
Yeah.
what's going on with the background? Why is there no
Yeah.
background? I hate this pastels and swirls and watercolor backgrounds. It's like you got all these different characters
Hmm.
interacting,
Hmm.
and you just wouldn't have like an altar just there in the middle of nowhere without people watching. So
Hmm.
where are the people?
Yeah.
It just to
Where's the
me is
detail?
it just to me this page is just lazy. To
Yeah.
Well, at
me, it
least
takes
have
away
it.
from the storytelling.
Well, at least have an establishing shot. Even because I
Something. Yeah.
sometimes like drawing, for me, trying to draw the same thing over again with all the details can get, especially when I'm trying to pay attention to the main, um, to what the main action is. But yeah, at least have an establishing shot. Let us know that there's, they're in this place. People are watching.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, so next page.
Now the story jumps, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is not in sequence. Or not in. This is not sequential page after page. This is taken from different parts of the book, but it's all the free preview art that they had shown before the thing came out.
Okay.
So we have a character that is apparently very central to the storyline. You saw him on the cover. He's called Bloodless, and this is our introduction to him.
Okay.
Um, which he is an interesting visual character, but we'll get into that more as we go along. So next page, and here we have Red Sonja, who has gotten in to find that these people that she was going to fight have all the fight already
Taken
stabbed
out
out
of
of
them.
them. Yeah. Um, at least we do have some background detail here. I will grant it
Yes,
that.
you
So
you
that's.
find that that she's in a dungeon or wherever
But
that
if you notice, compared to the other one with Bloodless, she's very small, rendered very small here. Um, we get pictures of him in that big kind of across the panels thing, but not her, which strikes me as odd for being her
it's her
book, not
book.
his. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Next page.
I think that was
Is
it. I
that it?
think you only gave me
Okay.
4.
Okay. I didn't include a whole lot. There was others I could have, but I didn't want to give too much of the story away. And with showing very much, you would give the story away. So, um, okay. The latest Red Sonja offering from Dynamite, it checks most of the barbaric epic boxes for a premiere issue, I think. You got the daring assault against a numerically superior force in the stronghold with the Temple of Set, check. You got the brazen tactics that are reckless but often effective anyway. Barbarians seem to specialize in that, check. Uh, I didn't show you the pages of it, but there's a peep show featuring scantily or Skylad protagonists, she devils, because reasons. There doesn't have to be much of a reason, but check. Okay. And writer Luke Lieberman, he adds some laudable touches within this formula. There is humor in freeing a sacrifice to Seth who doesn't want to be rescued in the first part. Um, there's insight alongside Sonia on how doing the right thing by ending a tyrannical king's reign opens his long-suffering subjects to perhaps more abuse.
Ooh.
And we see her not letting that situation sit. If she took out a tyrant, but um, worse things have befallen the people that are left without a leader, she is going to seek out the only surviving heir and take some responsibility for seeing him ascend the throne. Um, as warring interests vie for control, she's also determined to keep this young prince from becoming just somebody's puppet and somebody's figurehead. So laudable. This is variations on some of the things that you normally find in a barbarian story. So, but therein lies the promise of this initial entry, and the necromantic assassin called Bloodless, he gives the tale some added traction. Lieberman makes the young and impulsive Sonja interesting. This is early in her career, so she's not as fully formed as the Sonja we know later. What?
Sorry.
Oh, fully formed?
Sorry.
Character-wise. Not all the curves are already there. Yeah, that's fine. But but at
Yeah, just
times
crack it off.
but at times he also delivers her from the fallout of her inexperience with really circumstance and easily delivered. Nothing is too difficult. So that was kind of simplistic. Add in how Bloodless wrestles the spotlight away from her at certain points, as if auditioning for his own title. And what makes the storyline work overall, the portions piquing interest the most, are made dimmer. A spate of dialogue editing errors right in the center of the book, a whole litany of editing errors in their dialogue, sadly adds to the casting about for a story footing climate at that point.
Is she scratching her butt on that cover?
Could be. The illustration
She's missing an arm.
by Alberto Locatelli had a satisfyingly awry quality about it at times, which I think was okay to promote the Hyborian age well enough. But his color choices, they puzzle me. Because overall, you got very wan and paler than one would expect in a barbarian title. Now, to me, it kind of felt like Elric of Melibene at times, which, you've got this necromantic arts personified in Bloodless, so maybe that's intentional. But I could give him points for taking an unexpected path with the coloring, but I can't help but wonder, what if he had maybe done the more pale stuff with the Bloodless pages and more colorful with the Red Sonja, fully colored with the Red Sonja pages, and then when they have a clash like they do as in the third act of the story, you would have those two worlds collide.
Ooh.
That would have been more interesting to me.
Yeah, that'd been a great artistic choice.
Yeah, but he didn't do that. We get the same kind of weak sauce color-wise through most of the story, along with not a great amount of detail in the backgrounds. So in the first issue of Red Sonja, Death and the Devil, there are enough of those X categories, plus some sufficient departures from them to satisfy a lot of sword and sorcery fans, I think. Others could take a pass when it comes to subsequent issues. The difference may heavily depend on the litany of excellent variant covers, because I saw some of the variants, they're really good, and the talent that's behind them to draw in and keep hold of readers.
Does she have two arms in the variants?
Dynamite excels at that proven strength in their covers and the people that they get to render them normally. The one presented here notwithstanding, some of the others for this issue are quite attractive. But now, is that going to be enough to keep people coming back for the other issues? The covers might. To me, the interior elements will not hold their attention, even with, I think, sword and sorcery fans. So I'm going to rate this issue, because this is an important issue. This is the start, and I kind of got what Joe said, from that there's some laziness going on here. And so, and they have other Sonja titles. So this is sort of like you're asking a Sonja fan to pry loose of more money.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they're going to do it. So my ranking, considering all those factors, I am going to go with rating this issue. I think I can only give it maybe 6 temples a set out of 10. Yeah,
it looked like she was going, I'm going to pull another sword out my butt, because you see part of
she got a dagger in that hand. If you pay attention, there's a dagger by her thigh.
Yeah. But the arm
is like, if she moving her hand back, like you said, dude.
The whole arm is gone. It's like, okay, even if she was standing in that position, you should see some portion of it's like she barely has a shoulder and there's no arm, and it's like, okay, did at some point somebody editorially take her arm out because it wasn't dynamic enough in their opinion, but they left that dagger jutting forward? It doesn't.
If her feet were not so well proportioned and not good, but I mean, you can see her feet completely. If not for that, I think that Liefeld may have been to blame. I don't know.
Well, again, I
but
wouldn't
it's
put it past them that the Liefeld effect happened, or as I call it, the '90s image effect.
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
just seems like she's standing pigeon toed and she's
Oh, I
digging
know.
it. You know that
Yeah.
that steel
Being
bikini
snarky,
got a little is a little
the
too
the
tight back
the
there.
the snarky, yeah, whatever type stance of like,
Mm.
that's the way it comes off. Over like that's definitely not supposed to be sex. That looks like she's trying to be snarky.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like okay, is this supposed to be a teenaged Sonia?
Well,
Not
that's the thing. We're not really sure, but we do know that it's early on in your career. So, there's probably more attitude than she'll have later on. But
well in the
mm,
original story. I think Sonia's about what somewhere between 15 and 17 when
mhm.
her family is slaughtered and she's left for dead, and then the god comes to her and says, if you will I give you the strength to get the revenge you seek, but you have to devote for me.
Mhm.
You cannot sleep with a man, you must remain pure, you
There's
know
strings. There's really heavy strings.
yeah, you
They're more
know
like chords. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Conan could go out and bang a camel and Chrome wouldn't care. But
I don't
But
feel like
that's the thing with him being a barbarian. He doesn't care about religion.
right.
He doesn't like the mystic or religion.
and
And
yet in the
I
classic
don't
books he
think
was
that this
always going by Chrome.
I
Chrome.
don't think that this writer is either he's ignoring a lot of stuff that's been established about the early years, or he is and I here's what I got the feeling of, really, is that he made a character called Bloodless, and he really likes this character. Maybe he maybe he played him in a role play game. I don't know. But they gave him a chance to do a Red Sonja book, so he decided to do a Bloodless book, and she's a support character in it.
He's hoping
It's
Matt Mercer
dynamite. I
will
don't put
play
it
him in the
past him
game.
because again, I'm still angry about Red Sitha.
Hmm.
Okay.
I am still angry about that.
Yeah.
Again, you start off a series to talk about the one person that Sonya recognizes as a protege of hers.
Hmm.
And then while you release this, you also release things like Samurai Sonya and Unbreakable Sonya.
Okay.
All
There's
the
a
Red
lot of
Sonya
Sonya I
fans
haven't caught up with.
fell in love with Samurai Sonya because this
Hmm.
Asian version of Red Sonya. Oh, and then people love Unbreakable. The Red Sonya fans left, set that by herself. And it
Hmm.
was the decent series up until a certain point when she started have to deal with her family. Because unlike Sonya, she was left behind, but her family still existed.
Oh, okay. So
So
it
that was
was
the
it
difference.
they don't all
Sonya
originate
ended
with
up
the
raising
original
Sitha
Sonya story.
because the whole thing was Sitha was still looking for her family. She couldn't track them down and everything. She was by herself. Sonya kind of raised her up in her way.
Okay.
But
That's very
again,
different.
like what Clyde said, the whole thing about not being embedded and all this other stuff, that went out the window years ago.
Hmm.
Wow.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm a Sonya reader. I picked up Sonya and Conan and stuff in the 70s. I picked them up, when
Big
I was
difference.
about 11, 12
Yeah.
years old. And because I remember the issue of the death of Balin. And
Hmm.
there are issues from back there I wish my mother or stepmother didn't get their hands on because, death of Balin, if you were a Conan fan, that would be like, and I wouldn't sell it, but to just because I love that issue. And they
Hmm.
used it, they bastardized it, but they used it for the first Conan movie. They used it was supposed to be Red Sonja, but they portrayed her death. They took aspects of Balin's death because in that issue, Balin has to fight this winged beast, and he hangs her from the mast of her own ship with a string of rubies. And in the movie, Sonya shot with that arrow that turns out to be a snake. But in what happened in the book is Conan has to fight this winged ape. And at the point at which the ape gets the upper hand, Baylet's ghost comes and gives him the time he needs to regroup. She takes on this thing and starts fighting it so he can get himself back together and get the killing streak. And in the movie, Red Sonja comes back when he's, when this other guy's got the upper hand. And I'm looking at the two guys, and it's like, there's no way in reality that guy would have the upper hand on Schwarzenegger. I'm sorry. But Baylet, she comes and makes him back off so he can get him, so he can regroup and rally. And she delivers the line, "You want to live forever." But it was like, I actually got in trouble because I literally stood up and said, "That's friggin' Baylet." Ticked off people. And I was really mad because I had loved the Baylet character. And I thought her death was just, she loved him so much that at the point that it looked like he might die, she defies all odds to come back, even if it's just for a couple of moments, to give him that time to back up, get a breath, get a grip, get equipped, put the proton back in his back in his splits. But she gives him that time, and I thought they had did it so when he sees her hung from the mast of her own ship like that, I was like, because she was a character they had adventures together. You really cared about her. And then when she died, and then it looked like he was going to die, and she comes back, just for that moment to save him. It's like, wow, that's love, man. She came back to save his butt. And it kind of felt like they had bastardized that whole thing in the movie. Like somebody the writers were looking for source material to how to finish out that story, and somebody had seen that issue and just took that little bit of it, so that if you knew the story and you knew the lore, it made no sense. It made no sense. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they're doing Sonya for a new generation, because they kind of bastardized the Sonya series too.
A long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to get, but when Dynamite first took it over, I used to buy it because they kind of took off where the older
Marvel
stuff left off, where Marvel left.
Because Conan and Sonya were Marvels. And they had the regular size comics, and then they also, every few months, they would get the giant size.
Magazine.
Yeah.
And I love those.
But when Dynamite first took it over, they went back to the older stories and continued on. And then after that, they went so many issues, and then Gail Simone took over. Because now they're trying to write it in such a way to bring in more people, newer people, and everything. Those books did not do as well as they thought. After Gail Simone stopped, this is where we get the type of stuff that we're getting now, where they're trying to write her more
like she's part of the Teen Titans.
Not really Teen Titans, but it's more kind of like it's not Barbarian, but it's more like Adventure TNA.
Yeah.
And the thing is yeah, in many ways, Sonya was Adventure TNA, but at the same time, there was good stories in those books, which is why I read them. As much as ridiculous as the steel bikini was, I still loved the story. Sonya was a character that was a lot of fun, and she had this great code of conduct. And she just had a way of being that I really enjoyed. The heroes, she was definitely an example of the hero's journey. And it was from a very sort of female point of view. She wasn't the guy with curves.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You were probably not like Queen Sonya then, because
oh,
Queen Sonya to me was the epic of her being the example. But at the same time, she wouldn't be a queen over a land.
what
She
was she
wouldn't
queen
want
of?
the title of being royalty.
Yeah,
But it
because
was
Sonya
thrusted
was
upon her in Queen Sonya.
okay. Because I was about to say one of the things I liked about Sonya was she was never one. She wasn't seeking power, especially not power for the sake of having power. Sonya's take was always, she was always trying to find the situation where what's the best move in this situation.
All I know
And
is, all I know is Carl has missed out because we started talking about
oh
Agatha
shit,
all along and the redheaded Wanda Maximoff. We've ended here with Red
Red
Sonja,
Sonja.
and
Yes.
Carl was nowhere to be found. I'm so sorry, Carl, if you're watching this in reruns.
Carl's going to be like, Carl's going to be like, get to the replay and be like, restart,
Luckily, Carl
restart,
doesn't know where I live, so
restart.
sorry, Carl.
Don's going to eventually pull his Ethernet cord and be like, stop watching that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't. She loves him.
Yeah, and I'm sure that she's a redhead, so she is
Yeah.
happy to his attraction to redheads is ding okay with her. Always has been, as far as I can tell.
But it sounds like I don't know. The Sonya that was is not the Sonya. The Sonya I grew up with is obviously not the
That's
Sonya.
gone.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
And I
Then
read,
what I will
read,
do.
read Sonya in the Conan books, and also the Frank Thorne series, which was very formulaic, but also good stories to go along
Okay.
with the formula. I don't mind the formula. I don't mind the checking the boxes.
Yeah.
I kind of expect that in a Red Sonja story. And then I got the hints that that he was going to go in some places that were unique, but then we just get the spotlight taken off of her. Like, breaking in the big action scene with her is to, after she gets away from the Temple of Set, is to break in to take care of these bad guys. And oh, I'm sorry, Bloodless has already done that, thank you. And then he's going to talk to her about how good he, how they deserve, how they belong together on this mission. And so he kind of just takes all the wind out of her sails, and I don't appreciate that for a Red Sonja book.
It
If it was a
it
Bloodless book
No true
featuring
Red
Red
Sonja
Sonja,
fan is going to like that.
it,
Period.
I don't
and it
think
comes
so.
off as creepy.
Well, that's okay. He's a
It,
he's a necromancer, so, or has a necromantic bent to him. So yeah, that's okay to be creepy, but to take the wind out of her sails, that's not okay. It's a
yeah,
Red
I was about to
Sonja
say,
book, damn
is
it.
this a Red Sonja book with him guesting, or is this his book where Red Sonja's guesting?
No, it is her book where he is supposed to be probably the major villain, or
Well, it's a mini.
The anti-hero.
it's a miniseries.
It's
Yeah,
a miniseries. At least we could give it
Miniseries.
that. Just
Yeah.
like the whole thing about Red Sonja and Tesla Doom.
Yeah.
That was a miniseries that a lot of people slept on.
Yeah.
It was a good series for what it was worth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this one might bounce back, the second issue, but I'm afraid that a lot of the people that picked up the first issue probably won't be there for the second issue if it does pick up, because
Yeah, because they're going,
think that
I pick up a Sonya I pick it up for Sonya. Like I said,
Mhm.
but the Sonya that I read, that I went through my formative teenage years, 12 to 15, she, Sonya she was kind of a feminist icon.
Mhm.
It was, she wasn't Conan. She didn't have Conan's strength, but she had an exceptional skill with the sword. She was nimble as all get out. And oftentimes, if necessary, she could outthink an enemy.
Right.
Because it wasn't just about outfighting the enemy. It was also outthinking
Smarting them, yeah.
her.
And she
Yeah.
believed in magic.
She believed in
Yes.
magic. She believed in
in magic. That's the major difference that made me like her more than Conan.
She, and like I said, she was. It wasn't just, oh, there's this thing over there. Okay, let me go kill it. That's not who she was. she was a much different creature than Conan was just sort of going around, who can I sleep with, what can I kill? She you know, she
And
had a mission. She was, and the things that she went through were things she went through on her mission to find these people who destroyed her village and killed her family and left her for, and raped her and left her for dead. It wasn't just, she wasn't just wandering the wilderness, you know, what's out here that I can kill and destroy. It was, she was constantly trying to get clues to how to find these guys and take them out,
well,
you know. And
I'm going to put it this way. At least if we didn't have Conan, we would have never had Gru the Wanderer.
And
Because Gru the
Mendicants.
Wanderer is a perfect parody of Conan.
Right.
yes,
yeah.
From beginning to end. Perfect.
all he
parody.
needed was a German accent.
He would need a German accent,
Yeah.
and instead of sex, it was always food.
That's what I should.
If you could feed Gru was your friend. Gru would take care of you as long as you could feed him. As soon as the food runs out, that's the end of your village. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
So
I would have loved to have seen a Gru Red Sonja matchup. I think.
that's what I should have rated it. I should have rated this 6 Mendicants out of 10.
Well, y'all, at least we're actually ending talking comics.
Yeah.
For those
And
like
I
y'all,
we got a big craft weekend with Ginny's stuff, so I got to be taken off here before long. So
Okay.
Well, we could end it here. We could end it here.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good place to end. I mean, we're just talking about the difference between generations of Red Sonja creators. I mean, it is what it is. I think creators nowadays do not understand sword and sorcery like we did back in the day. Just like
yes,
I would be more afraid of somebody trying to write a Druna heavy metal story now. They would not understand
Oh, it
the
would suck.
magnitude
It
of
would
all
suck.
the if I could say it, the source material that you have to go through to understand Druna enough to write a good Druna story.
It's
now,
like when they made
let's
King Crow the movie. It was like, did you people not even read the comics?
yeah. But let's also not lump all the modern creator. Probably, I mean, there's always exceptions.
Yes.
So not all of the modern creators, but a lot of them, would be kind of out of their bailiwick to try to do it to try to do the original material justice, or something that is akin to it, or an up. Even the talent comes in taking those concepts and being true to them, but updating it to interest a modern audience. That's the sweet spot. And let's be honest, a lot of writers and creators and artists are not going to be able to do that. But there are always exceptions, and that's why I read comics for. I want to see the exceptions come through. So
Yeah, I will be one of the first ones to say, for a person that doesn't do sword and sorcery, I understand. There's certain stories that you can't do unless you understand that source material to the T.
Right.
And as somebody who, I loved King Crow, I loved Conan, Savage Sword, Barbarian. Those were favorites of mine. Red Sonja.
There's a lot there to love.
Yeah, there
Throw
is
Solomon Kane in there too.
Yes, Solomon. Oh my goodness, Solomon Kane was so much fun. There is some great books, and it's kind of sad because I had to kind of take that part of my life and shut it down, because I was in the military and we didn't get a lot of comics where I was in Okinawa. They had Japanese stuff, but I couldn't read Japanese, so manga wasn't working for me. Or its precursors, because what they had would have been considered manga then, and manga now are very different. But and then you're raising kids and stuff, and you're having the budget and stuff, and finally going, well, maybe every couple of months now I can think about buying comics, and thinking, oh well, I should look back in on some of those old series that I love, like Sonja, Conan, Solomon Kane. And it's like, and people keep telling me, oh, they've changed that. And it's like, no. And I get it. You change writers and stuff, and each writer brings a little. I mean, Sonja went through a few different writers, when, I was growing up. So you would see, some were more of Sonia as a detective, some were more as Sonia as a brawler. There were, and some books were more, they were more cerebral, others were more action based. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But to just take everything that I love about Sonia and then go, oh yeah, we're gonna just diminish that, and she's just a chick in a bikini. And she doesn't even have two working arms.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't get over. It's like I said. Is she digging in her butt or something? Where did the other?
Get it all out. I'm
Hello?
putting it back on the screen. Get it all out. You're not gonna be satisfied until you get it all the way out.
Hi there. I'm Pigeon Toe Pam. And her face looks like Melania Trump. Tell me it doesn't.
It does look like a frowny teenager face going whatever.
It's
like,
a frowny Melania Trump. I've seen enough people put up her early modeling pics to go, yep, that whoever did this is a big Melania Trump fan. I'm like, oh my goodness, they've just, my poor Sonia. Now I'm gonna drive James crazy because I now gotta go get hold of James and start asking him if he's got any old Sonias, or he can get his hand on old Sonias and see if I can remember stories.
That's kind of an indictment. Like I said, I saw some of the variant covers that were really nice, but if you're going to put that one out as,
as your main cover,
as your preview cover,
yeah,
I'm thinking, we talk about that all the time, of artists that bring people to your table or bring the way that they portray the character makes you go, I'm going to pick this up. Well, do you know what the book's about? I don't have to. I like that cover. I'm going to get it. This is the antithesis of that.
And if you look at the Bloodless dude,
mm-hmm.
half his body is bigger than her whole torso.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's like they have.
It's his book. It's his book.
It's just it's like, okay, you've only drawn half his body, and he's still bigger. Mm-hmm. He has more breasts than she does.
And from what we can tell, he's proportioned correctly. So he's not digging in his butt as far as we can tell. So
nope. But here we go. Here we go. We're about to look at covers here.
Okay.
The
blank one is especially nice.
That's the one that we saw so far.
Okay.
And like I said, Dynamite is I want to say
it's like
the queen. I want to call them the queen of covers because I don't believe they were surpassed Xenoscope. But
okay,
that one is pretty nice. That one is pretty
nice.
Oh
yeah, baby. Because she's like,
now,
yeah.
If that was the cover, I'd be like, yeah, the cover's going to bring people to the table. That will be interesting enough. It's like, okay, bloody act. She cut through somebody. What's going on? That will bring you to the table here.
That would make me go in Charles's room and go, how much money is on PayPal? Because I need that.
See, that one has a Frank Thorne.
This one doesn't make me think. This is like, okay, typical TNA Sonya. That's to me.
Technically, she's not even. Yeah, there's a dragon and she's got her foot about to get bit off, but she's not really fighting anything. She's just posing.
Yeah, that's like typical TNA Sonya that they do in here. And this
that's beyond it. Gina Torres is Sonya?
That's cosplay. Yeah.
That's Gina Torres is Sonya. They just Sonya, they just lightened up her skin.
That I don't think that's Gina Torres.
No.
That's not Gina Torres. She kind of
looks like Gina Torres.
No, that's some other lady that they got cosplaying Sonya. Mm-hmm. That's the virgin cover of that one. That's my favorite out of all of them. Make your own. I love make your own covers. Blank sketch covers is where it's at. I'm sorry, people. Me being who I am in the industry and going to conventions, this is how I can make my bread and butter at conventions. It's having people come up to me. It's like, hey, could you do a quick sketch cover for me? That's my favorite cover.
I grab my markers and write This is so much better than the chick digging in her butt, and that would be my cover.
Yeah.
So we got all of these. Then you got the
We looked at that
version
one.
of the cosplay.
We see the
Oh,
the original
this is the
sketch.
actual sketch, the sketch
Yeah.
version of that first
And
cover.
even in the sketch, she's digging in her butt.
Yeah.
Actually, you're right.
Even
She
in the
has
sketch,
no shoulder.
yeah, she's
She
just
has no shoulder. Reason I'm saying that is because in the sketch here, that underpart here is the actual underpart of her shoulder brace.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So how in the world is no way that you can get your shoulder to that point where up under here you can see the bottom of it. It's like it just
Like I said,
So he's the Liefeld of arms, I guess.
and there's the
Hides them.
phantom dagger. You
Yeah.
know, the
Mhm.
phantom dagger of Dune floating by your thigh.
right. I mean, it's just the simple fact that either that has to either be hair or the underside of, well, it can't be the underside of the arm bracelet.
It's
So it
just
has
the
to be
bit.
hair.
It's the little trace of arm. But the thing is the arm is in
It's
the
no trace of
position-
arm there. That's
Yeah,
the
no.
thing.
There's a barest trace. Like right under there, there's a little bit, and then right under a boob.
That's
it
hair.
looks like
No,
is
that's
that
trace
hair?
of hair. That's
Oh,
hair.
okay.
Just like
So-
up here, that looks like hair.
That
Yeah.
position does not work.
Yeah.
That position does not work. If anybody who's done, if you've just used a Nerf sword,
her
that
shoulder would have
position
came
does
right
not
about
work.
there. We would have seen it hit the shoulder here and a little bit of arm there.
Or at
I
least
gotta,
hand.
I gotta say also, when did necromancers start wearing trilbies?
Yeah, the hat does not fit the time.
Not
The
really,
hat, the
no.
hat is out of time. The jacket. Look at the jacket.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It
I don't
looks
know,
like
it's
a
just-
Ralph Lauren
I
man.
had issues. I'm sorry, I had issues with it. And I
Yeah,
have
but-
seen some of the stuff that they had for like issue 2 coming out. Those covers. Okay, they were better than the one at least, but I don't
But
know.
again, I'm not ragging on the artist on that level, but it's just like once you see like the sketch,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you could literally come back and take like
It wouldn't be that
if
hard
I had
to do.
my if I had my Huion pad connected up to my laptop now, I would be like, okay, let me put this in Clip Studio Paint, and I could show you how the arm is supposed to be just because of that way the pose is. Yeah,
I
she's
would
moving
s-
back, but you still have a hint here and a hint here and a hint here to make it seem like her hand is actually behind her hip.
Especially for that dagger, the way that dagger is, because there should be a hand there holding it. You can't have that much of
Yeah.
that dagger being seen without a hand that's holding it. The
If
way
I was
that
the
Well, the
editor-
dagger
hand
is
can
made.
still be behind. Well, I'm using
There's
my
a
marker.
finger
I need
loop.
to use my thing. The hand could be right about there, but if the hand is right about there, as you go up here, guess what? You see
should
Yeah,
see
you'd
the
have to have
arm.
more.
there.
Yeah.
You see parts of the arm there and parts of
Yeah.
the arm here.
We'll
Yeah.
come
That's
down
the
to the
dog.
dagger. See the finger loop behind the blade with the handle of the
The
dagger.
hilt,
There's
hilt is down here though.
No,
That's
but
the
there's
thing.
a finger loop. There is
Right there.
Yeah, there's a finger loop to help stabilize that dagger because she's holding it with her left hand. Sonya's a righty. You should see some of her gauntleted hand
Hmm.
holding that dagger. There's
So-
a finger loop. There's no finger there. It's just floating.
If I was the editor, I would have turned this back in and said, try again to the guy,
Yes.
to the artist. But there is no editor because obviously there isn't. In the middle of the book, I said that there were some breakdowns in the narrative. Those kind of things where as writing your script and you start to say a sentence one way and then you go, oh, no, I want to change the words around, but you leave part of the old sentence in there.
Mhm.
That's like when
That's-
you're on Facebook and somebody's typing something and they forget to erase.
Yep.
They forget
Yep.
to close out. And
Exactly.
You get
There's like
words
3 of
that are-
those.
yeah. Oh,
There's
shoot.
3 of those in the center of the book, and it just it takes you out of the story right there, and it just keeps taking you out because they repeat 3 or 4 right there's boom, boom, boom. So there was no editor.
They're
Uh,
recreating Fire and Ice.
oh yeah.
Yes, they had already started that process.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know if I want to read that. Anybody who wants to watch it, it's on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Because it's in my
Yep.
queue. And
I
while
reviewed
it's
that
not the
when it came
best
out.
story, and there are some silly bits in it, you know, it for the time it was made and what else was out there. You know, it's one of those things you watch. I don't watch it because it's great animation, but you know, it's like the same as watching Heavy Metal 2000. You know, because I'm really into Michael Ironside's voice. That's a voice you can have sex with, and it's just great nostalgia. It's a silly story, especially compared to what the original Heavy Metal film was. It's a really silly story, but Michael Ironside he's just eating that scene. Just the voice work, he is just eating the heck out of that series and having fun. And there are parts in this where you can tell the actors are having fun with what they're doing. So I will be. I don't know, but this is just. I'm disappointed. I am sad and disappointed. That's the bottom one where she's got that is a classic Sonya pose that originated.
It's homage. It's
Yeah.
homaging Red Sonja issue 1, volume 3, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
That seems right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that became the full body version of that became like an iconic Sonya pose through the 70s. You know.
That one there.
Oh, okay. Sonya's a Playboy model.
that one there. It's like that gave me shades of some of the stuff that I saw with the whole Red Sonja versus Tesla Doom.
This is Red Sonja's only friends account. Oh, look,
And
I've got
this gives me shades of Frank Cho. This might be a Frank Cho cover.
Yeah.
This looks like Frank Cho. This is like something that Frank Cho would put together.
Those heels are not. Okay, I can deal with a muscular Sonya, but the heels, really? For the Hyborian age? Really?
Why does the other guy look like he's from the Confederate Army?
I was about to say, is he going to go off and fight Jonah Hex?
He has the trilby for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he looks like he should be battling Jonah Hex. He's a man out of time.
Yeah.
Now that looks like a Red Sonja cover, but that's more of an homage.
Right.
But that's a classic.
But nicely
Sonya
done.
look.
Yeah. Nicely
It is
done.
a classic, except the only difference is in the classic version, instead of swords, they're daggers.
Right, and they were further down closer to.
They were further down because they frame her face. She's got them and they're framing her face, and the daggers are the ones that are straight this way, but they're hooked and go in. I know my Sonya.
And then there's your Torres cosplayer.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Whoever does these, it's like they're supposed to hug. They're supposed to cup her tits. I'm sorry, not just sit on top. They're supposed to, because otherwise she's got some.
It's not armor. It's that again. They don't understand armor.
Yeah, at least the guys who originally drew Sonya had armor. Yes, and at least the guys who originally drew Sonya kind of got that. This is
guys, I gotta go.
Okay,
I do too.
Yeah, so do I. I've got to get up in the morning. I've got a business event to go to, and then I got to go explain to my counselor what I've accomplished so far.
All right, we know what to do. I'm going to say ready, go, and we're just going to go for it. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Bye, guys. You know me. It's Elaine. You can find me here at YouTube, Elaine Haygood. Find me at Facebook, Elaine Haygood. Find me at X, or Twitter, as I prefer to still call it, at LensCapper1, or go to lenscaponline.com. Hit me up, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Bye.
Hi, I'm Clyde Hall. I'm an elder statesman of geekery, and you can follow me on Facebook at Clyde Hall, or Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall, where we do at least one posting a day to try to improve how things are going in your day. We've put up galleries of art. We do nostalgic toys sometimes. This morning we did one on the 60th anniversary of Johnny Quest with some art, not just from the classic series, but also some references to the adventures of Johnny, the new adventures of Johnny Quest, and also the real adventures of Johnny Quest, 1986, 1996, two different spin-offs from the original series. So you can find me there, or you can find me on Twitter at CJ Hall 1984, and you can also check out my Amazon authors page right down here. I am currently part of the online comic book review crew at comicsbeat.com, aka The Beat. You can find them at www.comicsbeat.com. And of course, part of the Comic Book Spectrum team every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. And in my spare time, I'm an independent award-winning author and a contributing writer at Stormgate Press. This week, I also signed on with a new publisher. More about that in the future. Can't talk about it yet, right, just yet. But I signed with a project with a new publisher this week. But you can find me in the Stormgate Press anthologies like Spurs and Six Shooters, Tales of the Old West, where we do new pulp westerns, new pulp sci-fi in the short story anthologies like Tim Bruckner's Major Marjorie. I have stories in Pulp Realities volumes 1 to 4, and I am part of the Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland volume 1 and volume 2 series. And all you have to do is go to www.stormgatepress.com to see the best in new pulp entertainment. And those 3 covers that I showed you, along with this wonderful illustration on the wall behind me here, that is from somebody that also is part of the Stormgate Press team, and that's Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. He is a Pulp Factory award-winning artist, several years running, and his covers illustrate why. For your next project, be it books or games or other graphic-enhanced work, you want somebody who brings readers to your table, who is creative, who's easy to work with, and that you can afford. Well, Jeffrey Hayes is all that and more. And Joe is going to tell you how you can put Plasmafire Graphics and Jeffrey Hayes to work for you.
Just like how Clyde said, you could get in contact with Jeffrey Hayes. But before you do so, take a look at this video, because this is going to convince you why you need to do so.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You've seen the graphics, you've seen what he could bring to the table here. So hit up Jeffrey Hayes on plasmafiregraphics.com or his Facebook group for Plasmafire Graphics. As far as I'm concerned, I will be back here Saturday for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. And this one's not one for the screamers, because why? I'm going to go there. I'm about to put out a assertion out there that we need to talk about, and I'm inviting everybody who is a comic book collector, who is a comic book creator, who has any stake in the comic industry, whether you're a collector, creator, producer, publisher, come out, because the statement that I made on the thumbnail is what we're going to talk about. Is the concept of the hobby funding itself ruining the industry? Oh yeah, we're about to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in depth. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but I'm going to be open-minded and I'm going to put it out there, because there are some things that are good about it and there's a lot of bad things that are bad about it too. But we're going to put it in a proper perspective, and we're going to have it as an interactive conversation. So your input is just as good as mine. So it's not going to be a one-way conversation. So come this Saturday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time from the Desk of a Small Press Publisher and have your opinion. So until then, as I always say, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike Brian K. Morris, the founder of Comic Book Spectrum, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. We'll see you next Thursday right here on Comic Book Spectrum. And we are out of here. Have a good rest of your Thursday.